Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV's podcast 109. I'm your host, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, joined by Johnny V in our glorious basement studio here in southeastern Milwaukee.
Or southeastern Wisconsin.
Well, also, but southeastern Wisconsin in southeastern Milwaukee. Whatever. We're here. So, podcast number 109. Thank you guys for joining in. We welcome all of you, and tonight we should have hopefully an interesting show if we can make sure that our featured guest decides he's going to show up. I've sent him a few messages in terms of confirmation. I spoke earlier on the phone today with Stephen Dodge of the Disc Golf Pro Tour, also of Vibram Disc Golf, also of the Disc Golf Pro Tour Championships, which is really going to be the major subject of conversation here tonight. So we do have Steve Dodge slated as our featured guest. Dana Might Vici says he may be standing down here tonight. He's going to rest up because he's got a long trip planned that starts later this week. I also spoke briefly with Paul Ulibarri. He asked that Big Germ was able to step inside the Smashbox, as those two are roommates this week. We're going to get behind that entire story, but I do believe there was some Facebook Live action of those guys out riding bicycles in Nantucket. I think there's a poem or a song somewhere there.
The only thing I was disappointed was that they didn't recreate the Drew Gibson, Derek Billings double.
Yeah, tandem bicycle ride.
The tandem bike.
Yeah, that would have been a good call, as we saw a few years ago out at the Memorial with Billings and Drew Gibson. However, sounds like there's some of our favorite pros that have landed on Nantucket Island. Excited to get out there later this week. I myself am excited to get out there later this week. We are going to be covering the Nantucket Disc Golf Open, which is taking place Saturday. It's a one-round B tier. We are tentatively planning to be live as of right now. However, we've never been there and we've never tested the signal. So with
that sets up really well.
It does.
I mean,
sets that bar really high for everyone.
If you're really looking forward to this weekend, come check out our untested broadcast.
Yeah, so
no, Nantucket is as everyone knows, it's a relatively wealthy area. There are Verizon stores on the island, and we've heard from people that Verizon is okay there, so we're going to assume that we have decent coverage.
We're making that assumption. However, it may not work. And if it doesn't, we're going to have a couple of our crew members right there on the island to record shot-by-shot coverage and then get a post-produced round put out. That's not going to happen right away. Even if we get everything filmed, say on Saturday, don't necessarily hold your breath, because then our focus is going to quickly shift into Vermont. I have mentioned that to the TD and said, do you have a turnaround? Do you need this thing on any specific day? He said no. We want to showcase that we're having fun and that we're having a bunch of the top pros in the world are going to be here having a good time. And he said, don't kill yourself trying to get the video out immediately. So we'll immediately shift into the live efforts over at Vermont for the Green Mountain Championships, along with the tour finale for the Disc Golf Pro Tour. And then shortly after that is when you're going to see the release of Nantucket, if that ends up being a recorded piece. We're shooting for live, though. And it's going to be a busy day. If we are, in fact, live, you will probably see us for the majority, if not the entire first round in the morning. Then there's going to be a lunch break, and then we'll be back out for an 18-hole round in the afternoon, and then there's going to be a fun little skins match that takes place after that. So there's going to be a lot of different things going on. It's going to be a very long and exhausting day, but we're hoping to make it a very fun one. So those are kind of our plans. This sprung on us literally in the last week or two. We got to thank Todd and the rest of the crew over at Nantucket for even having the vision or the idea or the resources for us to get onto the island and try and make this a reality. So that's what we're very excited to make happen this weekend. So, and speaking of releases, I'm going to go ahead and make the quick plug. The Vision Quest skins, which has been very highly viewed and commented on, is in fact available. Just before the Disc Golf Pro Tour kicked off in Minnesota about almost exactly a month ago, Vision Quest had reached out to me. I worked with UDisc and Dan and Matt and then Mike Rivard over at Vision Quest. They said, let's put on an exhibition match that is exclusively for media. Let's Get people out here. Let's throw some money at at our top players so that they're going to want to come play a competitive matchup. And let's have media here. So they reached out to me. I guess I count as media. And they said, let's film it and then let's put it out. And so that's exactly what happened. It was a lot of fun. It was fun to film. There's some jabbing back and forth and, polite jabs.
Ribbing.
A little bit of ribbing. And as always, people get all worked up. There's a few people, oh, you were so mean. You're so rude. You're so fat, whatever.
All of which are true.
They can be. But just people sometimes just really, no matter how much I set it up or let people know, this is a different way of going about it. And this was meant to be lighthearted and for fun. And just people get so worked up about silly things, no matter how many times you say it to them. So it was a lot of fun. We released the front 9 on Friday morning. There was a ton of viewership for Friday and Saturday. And then Saturday night, I had it scheduled to release the back 9. And so people should be out there enjoying it all. Really, the main point was to see just how amazing Vision Quest is. He calls it, I think he calls it on there. I'm gonna Google it so I don't mess it up. Vision Quest Disc Golf. If you Google it and then you click on it, he calls it Vision Quest Adventure Park. And that's because there's actually zip lines on there. You can rent carts. There's 18 holes with multiple tee pads. Awesome. There's so many amazing things about this course. And I had gone ahead in one of the intros and said, you're not going to find zip lines on any other course. And of course, I was wrong in that everybody's like, no, all these other courses, and they're putting in the comments. I would challenge everyone to let me know, just to know if I'm fully wrong or not. Are there any other courses where you can zip line during your round? That's what I want to know, because I know there's the Georgia event, and there's 4 or 5 other ones. People immediately, of course, Terry Miller's wrong. I'm going to tell him how wrong he is. That's fine. But I want to know, can you zip line at those places during your round on any given hole? Not just is there zip line at the same park. When I said that in the intro, I meant you could zip line literally during your round. So if somebody is out there and can clarify, please do. Maybe there's other places that you can. I'm going to doubt it, but guess what? I've been wrong. I've been wrong one other time. So, and what's cool about Vision Quest, and I know they're not, they're good with this. Vision Quest is literally just a few minutes away from Blue Ribbon Pines. So you saw where we were for the Pro Tour. You saw how amazing Blue Ribbon Pines was. Many people put Blue Ribbon Pines as one of the best private or pay-to-play courses on the planet. And then you're literally within 5 or 7 minutes to get to Vision Quest. So if you're going to make a destination, you're going to make a trip somewhere, you're going to go play Vision Quest, and you're going to play Blue Ribbon Pines, or you're going to play them in reverse order, or you're going to spend 2 days playing one then the other. You need to get over to Vision Quest as well as Blue Ribbon Pines and play them both. So those, I think, are my official plugs. Some people are saying Daytona. I don't know any of the other details. I would be curious to know if Daytona, in fact, has zip lining while you're playing disc golf, if you can do that. Because when you're out on, I believe it's hole 14, you can throw and then literally zip line
to wherever, hopefully where your disc is.
And there's a few other places.
That would be unfortunate. Maybe you worm burn one,
yeah,
and you're only halfway down the fairway, and now you zip line and you're just looking at your disc as you go past it.
Like, oh, I got to backtrack.
I got to double back.
So hopefully not. But anyway, it's out there. It's available. Enjoy it. Other things on my list as I'm continuing to peel off of them. I've gotten Alaska done. I've gotten the Vision Quest done. The 9-hole women's skins match from Ledgestone. Thanks to those guys that offered it up. And then the amazing women, the 4 world champions we had that played in it. That I should be able to attack. I think I might have some Am Worlds footage. I got most of it out. I think we have some women's stuff to get out from there yet. So there's always stuff that will remain in the queue. So now you guys are all up to speed with some of my work.
You done?
I think so. Do you have anything worthwhile?
Not today.
Yeah, exactly. At least I'll give them some worthwhile updates because they're all dying to hear it.
Depends who you ask.
Mm-hmm. Looking a little rough today there, Johnny.
How so? A little messy hair.
Your hair's a little roughed up. You're wrinkled.
No, the shirt's all right. The
T-shirt.
shirt was fine. Yeah, so I got home today and I mowed my lawn, and then I was like, it's really hot in Wisconsin right now.
And muggy. More so muggy than hot.
Yeah, it's like maybe
not the heat, it's humidity.
It's like maybe 90 degrees or something, but it is nasty
disgusting.
muggy. So after I mowed my lawn, I kind of laid down on the couch and maybe got a little disheveled, but nobody can really see that on the podcast because the headphones block it up. No one can see back there.
Sure.
It's like someone mentioned your faux hawk, and I said, keeping it real since 2002.
Yeah, I know. Keeping it real with my Vibram disc golf undershirt too, thanks to Steve Dodge. Okay, so I apparently we'll take this still as unofficial. Patrick Hansen says North Georgia Canopy Tours in Lula, Georgia, where I know they have a big event or multiple big events, have zip lines through the course out on the course too. So sounds like maybe that's a place where you can actually zip line during the round. One place you can't zip line, but you still need to put on your bucket list, as I see a few other people saying that they are creating bucket lists for disc golf. Sandy Point Resort and Disc Golf Ranch, also located in the Midwest in northern Wisconsin.
If you're going to go to Vision Quest, you might as well take the extra 2 to 3 hours.
3 to 4, but yeah.
That far?
Yeah.
All right, I was thinking 3, but all right, 3 to 4 hours, and go check out Sandy Point, where we just were.
Yes, so this weekend was, in fact, the 22nd annual Northwoods Open, which was presented by Innova Disc this weekend, up at Sandy Point Resort and Disc Golf Ranch. You hear me talk about it. You hear Johnny talk about it. I think I may compete in 3 total tournaments this year, one of which is one I ran in the winter.
Ooh, that's one more than me.
And the second one was the Team Invitational, where we had Nate Doss join us this year. And I'm a captain for a team up in at that event. And then this weekend where we just competed. So 2 out of my 3 times I'll compete this entire year. So roughly 6 out of my 10 rounds I'll play this year, or 4 out of my 10 rounds this year will be up at Sandy Point Resort. They've got cabins on site, which you typically rent out for a week at a time. But there's cabins on site. There's a permanent 27-hole disc golf course. In the middle of the summer, the 2 lake holes or lakefront holes are actually closed usually during the summer. But during tournament play, those 2 holes are both in play, 26 and 27. Otherwise, there's 25 holes. There's multiple tees on a handful of the holes. The pins have multiple pin positions that they could be in on any given day. And I've been going up there literally since I had, hair just growing out of one mole when I was like 15, when I started the old facial hair. And I had long hair.
Yes.
Eddie Vedder long hair. I was probably wearing sweats and a flannel at the time. Yeah, I think I was when I started going up there.
That's sad on so many reasons. Well, some of the people may have actually gotten a chance to see some of Sandy Point. As
I heard that.
Second round, I was able to follow you around for a bit. We did 3 or 4 holes of Facebook Live. I saw some people say, wow, this is the first time I've ever seen Terry throw. Mm-hmm. No one was impressed.
No, they shouldn't have been, except for my one solid putt.
You had a really, really nice putt.
That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was... I think I said it in a Facebook post. Not playing, in the last few years, I've really reduced myself to playing 1 round a week, and that was running a league on a Wednesday night here in Milwaukee on a super short pitch and putt course. And this year, for the first time in 15 or 18 years, I didn't run that league. So I'm now down to playing 0 days a week. And even there, I played... I would throw a few warm-up shots at most, and I would then hopefully play the course in roughly 40 to 44 strokes or something like that. And that was the extent of my disc golf. This year's the first time not running that league, and this year I'm down to now playing less than a dozen rounds of golf for the entire year, which is kind of sad and disappointing in some regards, but in other regards, I'll say I almost felt rejuvenated a little bit playing this weekend, because there were moments where I was like, wow, I can still throw. No, those didn't shine through as often, and it's not the 995 I once was rated many eons ago. But I had a slight rejuvenation in playing, and I thought, wow, where can I go play a tournament? And then I look at my weekends, and I'm like, nowhere. I can't play anywhere.
Not until
for
like
months.
November
or December. And then if I, dug around, I could go find a tournament that I'm not running or that's in some place even mildly nice. But I actually kind of felt like playing, so it was kind of interesting to be out there. And you,
Yeah, I played well, I guess you call it playing first round, and mostly due to an injury, partially due to a little bit of being rusty, I shot hands down, no doubt, the worst rated round I have probably ever shot in my life.
I bet you we could do some stats and find out if that's true or not. But
I think since ratings have been around, I bet you it's the worst. I shot a just over 800 rated round, 806 or 804, I believe is what preliminary it was. Sandy Point's tight. It's wooded. With the little back injury I have, it's causing numbness in my hand, which really makes it difficult to release. So I was spraying. We used to call it Pat Hamill style. I was never in the fairway. So I hit lots of trees. At one point, I think I went from I birdied hole 4, and then I took a 4 or worse from 5 through 18. And there's one par 4 in there. And then I birdied my last hole. So
you may end your disc golf career on a birdie?
No, I won't be ending my disc golf career.
You never know. That could have been it.
It could be.
You're done.
I'm done, finished.
As of right now, you're done.
I did a lot of research yesterday on my particular back issue. That's a C7 herniated disc, whatever. And I got brought to some weightlifting website, which not my style, but a lot of people with this similar thing, probably from actually lifting weights instead of just being lazy. And a lot of them say that it takes a couple months, but they're getting full recovery. And it wasn't a pain issue. It was more just no release. And my putting, I've got no power because I've got no snap, because it's basically a tricep that has no muscle right now. Apparently the nerve doesn't tell the tricep to fire. So anything over 15 feet, I'm literally flailing. I had a 20-foot putt that I put 6 feet over the basket. 6 feet when I tried to really give it a push. So it was brutal. And so I decided second round, rather than just struggle through another round, I would actually enjoy myself. Walked around with you for quite a bit, did some Facebooking, and I've got an MRI scheduled. It was scheduled for this Saturday, but now we're going live, so I need to have it rescheduled. What I don't do for these people.
Exactly.
So I'm looking forward to that. But no, I don't consider this hopefully the end of my career, assuming that surgery, everything goes fine. Which, again, it will. I'm a positive guy, nice and upbeat.
That's all you need.
So yeah, so it should be pretty good.
Okay. Well,
I'm looking forward to getting. You're right, because there were times. The one real easy thing for me to do was throw a big hyzer, because it didn't really require any aiming. I could just unload and throw, and I had a lot of fun doing that. On like the 4 holes you can do it out there, I'm not even gonna go into, but 4 holes you can just unload a nice easy hyzer. And I had a lot of fun doing it. It made me miss playing golf, thinking like, oh my God, I'm not playing. Like, I really want to get out and play. So we'll see. I'm looking forward to getting stuff started for next year again. I'd like to play maybe 3 events next year instead of the 2 I did this year.
Yeah, what 3? Do you have 3 in mind in particular?
Sandy Point, of course.
Okay.
I'd like last year or this year I played the Gray Fox event that you did. I'd like to play that again because I enjoy that. And then just some random event on a weekend where we're not broadcasting. I'm not spending time with family. And I don't have some other crazy plan. Like my wife signs me up for some run walk. I get a lot of those.
Do you do more running or walking?
Oh, walking for sure. Because we usually walk with the kids. So unless the older one wants to actually go for a quick run, we'll run for like 2 or 3 blocks, and then he'll get tired and we'll walk. And then usually we'll let my wife catch up with us, which completely negates the whole running point. But
well, so speaking of negating points, what I would like to do is go ahead and remind, and we'll probably do this maybe forever. We'd like to remind everyone that anytime we are live with any of our broadcasts, we are most likely going to keep up with YouTube commentary. We know that there's a post out there on SmashBoxxTV. Sometimes it's on the PDGA site. Sometimes it's on the Disc Golf Pro Tour site. All of those various places on Facebook where we're also shooting out our live signal and stream to. We know that comments and then an entire thread and then sub-threads and then just flat out pandemonium takes place. However, the one we're most likely able to keep track of and actually follow and have interaction with is the YouTube chat. So we just want to make that perfectly clear that YouTube chat's the one that we're most likely to stay on top of. It's the easiest one, and it's the one that we see and are familiar with. It's impossible to track them all, to keep on top of every single thread that's out there. So if you want to interact, that's the easiest place to do it.
Correct. So before we get into the this weekend's events, we'll kind of do a quick run through before we get Steve Dodge going. I saw something really funny when you reposted on our Facebook page the picture from when we first did this in November of 2014. It said a disc golf call-in show. Like, that was our original plan. And which we did in the after show for the first or second episode, and we've really not done a call-in show after that.
We don't let people call in.
No, we don't let people call in.
There's a reason for that.
I know, but it's funny that we dubbed it as a disc golf call-in show originally, like the very first thing before we really moved this into a podcast. So
well, and getting fancier with the names, one would ask or say, and I hear people make conversation about it all the time, are we a podcast? Are we a live broadcast? Are we a talk show? How different are we from like a morning radio show? Are we really any different than a morning?
We're not. And a lot of those, I mean, they are doing all the same things we're doing. Our local morning DJs, Bob and Brian, they put out a podcast as well of all their shows, basically with the commercials taken out. So we're doing the same thing. We just also happen to be live broadcasting it. So we're podcast, broadcast.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's no designation. It's new media. That's all we need.
We sound incredibly fancy.
We are, thanks to me.
I will touch on one thing regarding the Sandy Point tournament. Is a few of you saw one particular individual had a little struggle with some simple math and arithmetic, and that was Holly Finley.
Yeah.
And I'm only saying that because she posted it herself. She said she made the mistake of not adding up her scorecard correctly. And obviously, by not adding up your scorecard correctly and then turning it in and signing, or I don't know, you don't have to sign it anymore, but she turned in her scorecard. It was added incorrectly, and then she was later notified that she would receive a 2-stroke penalty. It was her that kind of started this storm that said, well, I'm glad it's just me that's not getting penalized and not my entire group. And from that point,
at first I thought maybe like her whole group had misadded their card, like they missed par, like they messed up par. And my initial thought after when she posted this was like, oh my God, did they think par was like 72 instead of 81? And then, maybe it was Holly that said, no, it's 72, and everyone filled it out. And maybe Holly went up and said, hey, this and that, and the other people didn't get penalized. That was my first thought. And I was like, no, I mean, as cool as that would be, that's not, you really, if they put in the wrong scores, you have to give them a penalty. But that's not the case.
Correct. So what then came of that conversation was she, in fact, just added her scorecard incorrectly herself. Her card mates may or may not have checked it. Actually, I didn't get that far if they checked it or not. But it was ultimately turned in with the incorrect score. And then from there, at least on her thread, or maybe it was elsewhere, this absolute madness ensued about, well, whether or not the whole card should be getting stroked or not.
No. I mean, if assuming, because now you have to understand the way the Sandy Point cards are, you have 4 separate cards with each individual player's score.
So you had a scorecard, I had a scorecard.
Yep, it's not one scorecard.
Holly had a scorecard, exactly. You have an individual scorecard.
If the other 3 players' cards are correct, regardless of what Holly's is, she's going to get penalized. And you would never penalize the other players. That just would never, in my little bitty brain, that would never make sense. Because, let me do this, what's to stop her from changing her scorecard after she confers with the rest of the card? And she says, no, I really think I have an 82 and not an 81. After she checks it with everybody, she changes it, turns it in. No, she really did have the 81, everyone thought. Who would think that you would penalize the rest of the group?
Well, apparently, I believe she said it, and others then chimed in agreement with her, saying, well, no, I've been at a tournament where the whole group got stroked. And then people wanted to go ahead and clarify and say, well, okay, did you all turn in an incorrect scorecard or whatever the case might be? And long and short of it is some people were saying that some tournament directors were stroking an entire group. And I'll just go right ahead and say you're just dead wrong. If you're a tournament director and you're stroking a whole group for one person's scorecard being incorrect, whether they have an individual card or they're one of 5 on the same card, it is your responsibility to make sure that your score is correct.
Yep.
As you just said, there would be no reason why if you added up your scorecard and it came to 99 and you wrote down 104, why in the world I would get a penalty is beyond me. I have no idea.
No,
So
yeah.
that is something that was talked about. And, of course, some people got really worked up, as I could if I was arguing with somebody in their face about it, because that's just at surface level, it sounds so incredibly dumb that you would think you would get penalized for someone else's score being incorrect. But then when you really think about it, in an individual scorecard example such as this, how could you ever even prevent that in the first place? Because if we add them all up, and like you said, if you walk off with it and be like, well, I actually had a such and such, and you changed it before you turned it in, how in the world could you hold the
rest of the card responsible?
Exactly. So here's what the funny part, the takeaway, though, is. You go out and find the PDGA rule book, which I'm going to Google it right now. PDGA rules, scorecard, incorrect score. Let's see if that pulls it up on its own. And someone quoted, in fact, the incorrect score on a scorecard. Incorrect. Let's see if I can find shall keep score. And they made it sound like as if it was, here it is. So this segment brought to you by the PDGA. 805.02, actually it would be 805.02 scoring. Some people lack in that category. All right. Letter H. After the scorecard is turned in, the total score as recorded shall stand with no appeal, except for the following circumstances. Then it goes on to say penalty throws. We'll skip dot 1. Point 2. If it is determined that the total score was incorrectly recorded, either by an error on the whole score or by an error in totaling the whole scores, including the omission of the total score, the director shall add 2 penalty throws to the correct total score. These penalty throws are not added when the director corrects a player's score for other infractions determined after the player had turned in an otherwise correct scorecard. Someone was saying, well, there's leeway in there to say you could stroke the whole group. It doesn't say who it gets assessed to. I know. For our audio-only listeners, Johnny rolled his eyes and rolled his head all at the same time. Correct. I'm just saying that was the argument that someone then made was, well, it doesn't say who's getting stroked over that. Or
they should penalize me.
Or, that they...
Even though I wasn't playing in the same pool, nor was I even playing up to their capability.
Correct a player's score.
They should have stroked me.
So anyway, it was a funny conversation. I think you are beyond...
Can I turn in a provisional scorecard?
Yeah, you are lawyering up to the 100th degree if you are looking for a gray area in that description there that would state, well, it doesn't say the whole group wouldn't get penalized.
Was this person from Michigan?
No,
our favorite lawyer from Michigan?
No, I don't believe he was involved in the conversation that I saw. But it was...
That's interesting.
It is, and it's all too sad. So you're responsible for your own scorecard. Make sure it's correct. I've made that mistake before.
Many people have.
And it's usually a mistake you make once in your life at most. So... someone says, did the people see the incorrect score and call it within 2 seconds? Yeah, it was an interesting... so the takeaway here, add up your scorecard. Holly went on to win by 8 or 10 or 13 or something like that. So when it was all said and done, thankfully for her, it made no difference. But
correct.
Holly Finley, your Open champion at the Northwoods Open this last weekend. Female Open champion.
And... So there were stark differences. Let's get into some results here. There were stark differences between the Sandy Point event and the event that we picked on with you, Lee, the Spikeheiser Blockhouse Labor Day Marathon. In the MPO at Sandy Point, remind everyone who won.
Adam Hamus.
How old is he?
Like 16, 17, 18, somewhere in that neighborhood.
He shot on a 27-hole course. He shot a course record of 18 under, I believe, off the classic pins.
Yeah, the first round it was held in with all pins being in the longest positions, where 6 under was actually top score.
Correct.
Out of 27 holes, and then they move them to what are the classic positions, where some stay long and then some move to slightly shorter positions. I think is roughly half actually. About 13 or 14 of the holes move to a slightly or sometimes drastically, but usually slightly shorter position. Yeah.
Yeah, so we had him and Holly win there. And at the Blockhouse, Barry Schultz, Mr. I could play Masters. No, this week I'm playing Open. No, I think next week I'm playing Masters. Bouncing between divisions. But I think the bigger upset at that event was Elaine King over Sarah Hokum. Elaine, who is a Masters player in and of herself. I don't know if she is...
Don't say it.
I'm not going to. We're going to say she's a Masters player.
At least.
At least. She actually beat Sarah Hokum by 1 stroke. And she's no slouch. She's a 925 rated player. Her PDGA is 3090. But the way Sarah had been playing the past couple weeks, there was virtually no one that picked her to win. And I looked at the stats on skipace.com. I believe it was one person picked Elaine King to win.
Wow.
One person. Just like there were only 4 different people that picked Barry Schultz to win.
See, and I picking Elaine, I don't want to say is a major upset. She was the second highest rated woman there.
She is the second highest rated woman there, but
has more world titles than Sarah Hokum.
But is also quite her elder, hasn't been playing nearly what Sarah has been playing, and just is more off the scene. Now, granted, I don't know this course, if this is more of a home course for her or what, but it's not like Sarah and this event, from what I understand, was more of a tightly wooded course.
Mm-hmm.
That's what kind of Hokum's known for, being able to hit these gaps and play. She's not a distance thrower. She's not necessarily the most accurate with her backhand. She is known for hitting the wooded holes and having a phenomenal forehand. Elaine, I couldn't even tell you what Elaine is known for because she really hasn't made her presence felt in the FPO division in quite a long time, at least nationally. Probably she has locally at a lot of these events, but we're saying at a national level. So props to Elaine King for coming out and taking down Sarah Hokum.
Well, yeah, again, I'm surprised only one person. I mean, it's 25 ratings points or 24 rating points or whatever it is between the two of them.
Let me just double check that. Maybe it was.
But I'm just shocked that I don't think it's that crazy.
I don't think it is either. But I think that everybody assumed like what everybody else did. Hokum's going to take this handily.
Sure. Well, sounds like it was, I'm sure, a very good battle amongst them.
Oh, for sure.
And yeah, pretty sweet. And then on the men's side, now Barry Schultz. Funny that we speak of the Northwoods Open taking place at Sandy Point Resort in northern Wisconsin.
I'm sorry, it was 5 people. 5 people picked Elaine King.
So percentage, 4% of people though.
4%. Yes, because that's 1. So yes.
Okay. Barry Schultz, who's won the Northwoods Open multiple times, was actually, as you said, over on the other side of the country, winning at the Blockhouse at the ripe age of 40 plus.
Nice.
44, 45. He's in that neighborhood. I know him and Kenny.
They're very close.
Are within a few months of each other. So whether it's 44, 45, 46, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Yeah, I mean and again, it goes to show you that the type of course that this catered to. Barry again is known for being. He was, everybody talks about Michael Joe like he's one with the trees, like he's the long lost tree god of some sort because he can pure almost any line. Barry was that before MJ probably even picked up a disc. Barry has been doing that since as long as I can remember. 93, 92. He's been deadly accurate with usually with a rock, just right where he wants it, or his Barry Schultz beast for many years. So this type of course just set up for him, and everybody knew it. Everybody picked him to at least finish in the cash, and he came through and ended up beating Ricky.
Well, not exactly as, yeah. How many people picked, what is the percentage of people that picked Ricky to win?
90%.
So 90% of the people participating in
Three
that little website thing of yours.
Yep, 3% went Bradley. Barry Schultz was 2.6%, which was 4 people. 4 different people, 6 picks is what it was. Because I went through and looked at the actual database, and some people are in multiple leagues, so I narrowed it down to 4 different users picked Barry Schultz to win.
I'm not going to give too much credit to the intelligence of your users because I see right there that Paul Macbeth was picked to win as well.
1.74, which I
And
believe
he wasn't
is
even signed up.
A couple people. And, well, the same thing in there saying Cat. A lot of times what people do is they fill them in once, not knowing who's going to be there. They'll fill them in ahead of time, and maybe a lot of the users that do that ahead of time, the beginning of the year, will forget to go back and change them. So there's always your Macbeth or your Lane King or your Katrina Allen was picked 5%.
Well, Ron Harkey says most people pick like Terry straight ratings. That's great, but I at least pick people that are going to be there.
You do.
I mean, come on, let's do a little bit of research.
Unlike some of our guests.
Yes, unlike some of our guests named Steve Dodge, who I'm wondering if is just genuinely lost or confused. I've sent a few messages. I mean, I could go as far as I'm going to dial him up. I've sent him a few text messages here.
So that was, you go and do that. That was the Spikeheiser, the Blockhouse winner, Barry Schultz. Tying for second was James Conrad, who's been really hot right now with Ricky Wysocki. Coming in fourth, Bradley Williams, who is still on the tour. Andrew Fish, Zach Melton, Chris Dickerson, who I believe was my pick to take fourth. Unfortunately, he missed out on that by 3 strokes. Cam Todd, James Cole. So that kind of rounded out the top 9 or so. And winning Masters, Matt Peckham, no surprise there. He's kind of the man down there in that field. Well, beating up on Tim Barr, who shot a 19 under as opposed to Peckham's 28. So that's the Spikeheiser Blockhouse event. The other big event going on this weekend was the 15th annual Solitude Open, and this one had a pretty good turnout as well. We had 37 open players.
You know what the number one complaint is about Colorado disc golf tournaments?
I don't know, but that they're not in Utah like this one.
Oh, sorry. I was thinking of Eagle. Spoiler alert. I was thinking of Eagle McMahon.
I'm guessing the number one complaint about
the Solitude event.
The Solitude event is that it's not in Colorado.
I think you ski in Solitude. You ski in Colorado too.
You ski in both.
All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and talk about the number one complaint in Colorado disc golf events quickly. Then is they just sell out too quickly.
Sure, that's a California problem too.
I mean, literally within seconds. Apparently, I've been told this, that within seconds or minutes, an entire tournament fills. And we're talking about weekend. We're not just like, oh, there's a big tournament, this one's going to be a hot one. We're talking about every tournament selling out within minutes or hours, or at worst case, a day or two.
Oh,
selling out almost instantly.
As we say, that's a good problem to have.
It is. It's an interesting problem. And I forget who it was saying also, though, that they wish some of their events, I think a transplant from Wisconsin out to there, Adam is his name, calling you out Adam. He said he's moving back to Wisconsin, and he said a lot of those tournaments that do sell out, that are so great and so big, he's like, a lot of them are 2 days. He's like, it's just coming from Wisconsin where we have a good number of 2-day events, but we have a good number of single-day events.
We've moved away from the 2-day events
commitment.
with the exception of 2 or 3 of the major events on our tour. We've moved away from those 2-day events to a 1-day format as like a B tier. And frankly, as we've said before, I think a B tier should be 1 day for the most part. I'm not a big fan of 2-day B tiers. But there are some, regardless of the tier, that the course just suits it.
Daniel Jones just messaged me privately saying, it's true, Flying Eagle, good plug for you guys, Flying Eagle filled in about 15 to 20 minutes.
Oh, wow.
And again, I think that's on the reg. I think that's absolutely common for that to happen, and that's just crazy that there's just so much golf and so many people playing. All right, so speaking of the
Eagles,
man from Colorado.
Yeah, speaking of the man from Colorado.
That's where that was
and
all.
The term Eagle. Eagle Wynn McMahon handily took this event down, shooting. It's kind of funny looking at these scores because they look like there was a cut. because 22nd through 37th, their par was -3.
Okay.
Eagle won by playing it looked like just one final round with a par of +19.
So what they clearly did is didn't adjust the par for one of the final rounds, or
More
there
than
was
likely.
something on the back end.
Probably because Eagle shot a 55, which my guess was probably we'll just take a guess and say 1 over if it's a typical everything's a par 3. I don't know how many par 4s or whatever, and it says +19. So something was maybe a little goofy with the pars, but Eagle, it looked like he crushed the field by 15 strokes, over Jake, amateur world champion Laputka.
Jake Laputka,
Brock Shepard, and then Philo Brathwaite.
And
Philo coming from California.
And nothing to shake a stick at. Jake Laputka, Eagle getting his win for 15.65. Jake Laputka shooting right around just below 1,000 average golf. Again, I'm not even sure that those are all correct. But second place at this event.
$1,050. That's not bad for taking second place.
No, that's not bad at all. So solid payout, solid work out there. And then I saw on the women's side that Karina Knowles was killing it, and I knew that because I saw Jennifer Allen had posted earlier. I think maybe it was after Saturday's round, saying it was a long trip over. She also hit a deer. It was a long trip over to get to the event, like 18 hours. And that Karina had came out and
18 hours,
something like that, and she came out and killed it. And Jennifer was sitting in second to her, and then ultimately finished in second to her.
Yeah, finished in second by 9 strokes. Karina just killed it, just knocked it out of the park.
And our favorite whale sacker,
Tina Stenitis.
Tina, we know you're out there looking for some great bins.
She's actually on a date right now with Eric.
They just messaged me minutes ago, so it must be a really hot date if I'm involved. I've broken up a number of disc golf dates. I will be. I'm honored to say that.
I don't doubt that. Yeah, no. Eagle came on, and someone asked, "Where's Eric?" And Eagle had said Eric was out to dinner with.
Well, just a few minutes ago, I got this picture from Eric.
Is that the picture? Is that the face?
And this picture from Tina. So
is that the face you give your significant other when they're listening to Smashbox on your date? Like, just it kind of looked like
they would both be happy to be listening in.
So,
and Tina just got a free whale sex plug even.
Good for that.
Congrats
Good for
to
Tina. So congrats
all y'all out there.
All y'all.
Yeah, sure. We'll go with that.
All right. So those were the actually we got one more out in California. It was a big A tiered event, the End of the Trail Classic. Out in California. It was kind of funny when I saw Philo's name there at Solitude and not at this one because I assumed he would have been playing this one. Coming all the way, probably the furthest traveled.
I don't know. Maybe he had business or was stationed or doing something here. I can't imagine he came over just for the event.
Maybe he's just finishing from here till USDGC.
Yeah, maybe he showed up early. That could be a possibility.
Just kind of getting your way. Manabu. Jinx, you owe me a Coke. So Manabu takes down the End of the Trail Classic, shooting a 54. Looks like he averaged, he averaged about 1040 rated golf. Not bad at all. Not including the finals, where he put up a 1066. So ridiculous for 32 players. $2,000 take home. Speaking of second places, Drew Gibson took home $1,100. He lost to Manabu by 4 strokes. Followed up by Peter McBride, Bobby Musick, and then tying with Bobby Musick, our good friend Steve Rico. Nico kind of finishing a little further down than I would have expected. He was at 8th, only shooting a 15 under, but those could be
he was
slightly
a little off the pace there.
Well, it's obviously adjusted because of round 4, but my guess is that he really didn't lose to Steve Rico by 32 strokes. So
there's a slight adjustment there.
I'm sure there's a slight adjustment there.
So Drew Gibson taking home
like 5 strokes.
About 1,200 for his second place efforts. And happy birthday to Drew Gibson's dad, Marty. Thought I'd throw that out there.
Yeah, and speaking of Drew Gibson, taking bottom cash, we were just talking about the tandem bike ride. One, Derek Billings, bottom cash out there. Congratulations. You don't see his name very often these days. I know he's got other things going on.
He just doesn't play as much.
That's what I'm saying.
Which we're missing out on.
Congratulations. He's such a fun guy to be around. Winning the Open women, Owen Scoggins taking down Ellen Widboom. 10-stroke. She won $625. So congratulations. I wonder if It looks like the 5th place for the open women. I'm gonna slaughter the last name. Shigeko. I'm gonna stop there. First name Shigeko took 5th place. I wonder if she's over here with Manabu. I wonder if they're kind of maybe they're touring together or maybe they're dating. I have no idea.
Wow, you're starting some.
I'm gonna start some rumors. But no, maybe they're together. Maybe they're on their way over to USDGC or something, or who knows. But pretty cool. But we have international contingent.
Very nice profiling. I like that.
That they're traveling together?
No.
I said maybe they're dating. I said, or maybe they're just traveling together.
Maybe. Anything's possible.
Or maybe they're not even, maybe they just ran into each other like, hey, I didn't know you were going to be here.
That's possible as well.
So.
Bamba taking bottom cash in Masters. And no, we've had no luck with Steve Dodge. I'm guessing his phone is off or he's completely spaced out in some capacity.
All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about what Steve Dodge wanted to talk
about.
Well,
before that, I want to get on to another subject.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
A suggestion was brought up, and I know this is going to impact everyone a little differently depending on the state you're from, but a suggestion was entered to the Wisconsin Disc Sports Association, of which I'm a board member of. We're a group of about 6 or 8 people that help oversee things that go on in Wisconsin. And for Wisconsin Disc Golf and Disc Sports, I really should clarify that. We help with ultimate stuff, and we're part of schools and lots of different things. And I'm one of those board members. So an email came in.
Kevin says that is Manabu's boo.
Well, okay.
So,
an email came in saying, should or could the Wisconsin Disc Golf Tour, we have roughly 15 tournaments. I think this was the 14th out of 15 just this last weekend up at Sandy Point. We have approximately 15 tournaments this year that start as early as March, end in October, plus a finale. Most of them are B tiers or A tiers. Almost every single one of them is either a B or an A tier, including the Silver Cup, which was, on the Pro Tour this year.
Mm-hmm.
Would Wisconsin consider, and the Wisconsin Disc Golf Tour, and there's tours in almost every state, would the Wisconsin Disc Golf Tour entertain the idea of implementing a no cigarette smoking policy for tournaments? Right now, I believe at all PDGA majors,
correct,
there's a no tobacco policy, and that even includes vaping.
The funny thing is, I didn't realize it didn't include vaping, but the funny thing is that was originally started because of some dry weather conditions. That was the first time it was implemented it might have been Flagstaff even, but there were some really dry. So they eliminated any sort of smoking on the course, and then after that, I think a rule was put in, or it just kind of continued.
There was a rule. I think you're right in that it was the 2003 Worlds in Flagstaff, Arizona, which was incredibly dry. That smoking wasn't allowed there. I remember if people were smoking, they had to do it in the parking lot at Little America Hotel. That was one of the few places you could do it. And so that was originally established for, a fire restriction. The question is, and then it was developed ultimately for our majors. Tobacco use not allowed during our major tournaments. That's an accepted, implemented PDGA rule as of right now. Is it something that an entire tour or other events? Now, other events can also implement it. You can run a C tier, and you can say there's no smoking here.
Sure.
Usually, again, it's fire restrictions more often than not. Or I believe, isn't it over at DD, at Dynamic Discs, whether it's the glass blown or part of the glass blown, where there's no smoking because I think one of the rounds takes place on school grounds? Something like that rings a bell. And if not, I apologize, but I could have swore I heard something like that no smoking was allowed. You can, in fact, currently smoke at national tours. So, yeah, that's an interesting question. And my first response was, I can't imagine the pushback that we'd get. I don't know if we as a tour, and I'm just one little person that doesn't really have much to do with the tour. This year I ran, for many years, I've run 3 out of the 15 events on the tour. But what do you think about a no smoking ban at all of the Wisconsin tour stops?
No smoking during play, I'm
No
assuming.
smoking during play. Because as the person that's here, this is an interesting point. He had said the only time I incur smoking is during rounds of disc golf at organized sanctioned tournaments.
I played in a foursome this weekend in the first round, and there was a big backup at hole 6, one of the 2 par 4s that are out there, and one gentleman was vaping, another gentleman was smoking probably 30 feet from me, and another gentleman was right next to me, lit up. And then he looked as the smoke kind of went my way, and he apologized. Oh man, he goes, "I'm so sorry about that." Gets up and walks away very politely. And I was like, no big deal.
Which is what a lot of
it didn't particularly bother me. And I mean, had it sat there, I either would have got up and left, or moved, or I would have asked him like, "Hey, could you take it over there maybe a little bit or something?" But it wasn't particularly bothering me at that moment. I don't know if that is.
Is that overstepping any kind of rights or
no?
I mean,
no. I don't believe in rights. No, I don't believe that you have. If you're coming to play an event or a tour, you abide by the rules of that tour. You are signing up. If you don't like it, too bad. If the Wisconsin tour said okay, yeah, go ahead, that's cool, I've got no problem with it. Like I don't think you're hampering anybody's right to do what they want, because perfect example is Sandy Point. That's a private course. He could say no smoking.
Correct.
And without
just
a problem.
Because of his property. Because
it's
he mentions every year, he's sick of picking up cigarette butts, and that's a whole other story.
That's a different. But if the Wisconsin tour said, we're going to look into it, we don't think so, it personally doesn't really bother me as long as the players are considerate about it. So, I don't know. I don't necessarily know if it's needed, if it's required, or really. I think it happens, and maybe I've just been fortunate, and I haven't played a lot lately, so I don't really recall. But I think it happens so infrequently that I run into a lot of smokers. Like this, it was kind of funny because a majority of my card this past weekend smoked something, whether it was the vape pen or the cigarette. So. I don't know. I don't really have an opinion on it, I guess. I've never really thought about it. I don't smoke. I never have.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I don't know.
It's an interesting debate.
That's a really tough call.
And someone is asking on the board, well, will your tournament still fill anyway?
I wouldn't.
I don't know that would impact. I don't know how much that would impact participation. It would certainly get heated and dicey and, dare I say, pissy when people are reminded of the fact that they can't, that's part of the Wisconsin tour, that's part of playing in all these events. There's certain people, and then there's some people that would just flat out not realize it or know, and then all of a sudden, they're just playing in one event because I live in Milwaukee. It's the only event I played on this 15-stop series.
Yeah.
And, that's all I care about, so I don't even care about this whole tour or anything. Like, there's plenty of those people as well. So I'd just be interested. It's something to think about. And a lot of people are chiming in, talking about, their local municipalities. You can't smoke in a public park.
Sure.
And there's a lot of, if it's already a city or a state law that you can't do certain things at those certain parks, obviously, then that's a no-brainer.
That supersedes.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer
everything.
right there. But the question is, would tournaments or the tournament directors themselves or an entire series of events, what would that mean for them if they were not to do it?
If my personal opinion, I'd love to see it banned because I don't do it. It would occasionally bother me, but if it's not, for me, it's not a big priority. I would be in favor of it. And someone asks about, well, what about smokeless tobacco, dipping? I have no problem with that because it doesn't really bother people around you. You're not interfering or affecting, the gentleman next to you, or, for whatever reason, 30 feet away if the wind blows the right direction. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of other sports that definitely, block it. You don't see tennis players take a break after a long rally and just go light one up.
No, I'm not a smoker, but would it look funny if I did during the broadcast?
Yeah.
Hey, we're back. And,
If you did, I've got options. I can turn it black and white. We can make it look like it's from the 50s.
okay.
You know, when all that stuff, those type of things were not frowned upon. So
Okay. So yeah, and we could go on and on and on. There's lots of different conversations that could go from this, whether it's during specific breaks or during holdups or in between rounds, or at some point, are we going to get, just generally as a society, are we going to get to the point where, well, the only place you can do it is in your car, and then maybe that solves this entire problem?
Well, they're even restricting.
And now there's starting to restrict just the opposite of that and saying you can't even do it in your car.
Because if you have kids in your car,
which I'm sorry, I'm going to go ahead and say I agree with, but that's a whole nother story. And I wouldn't have thought of that probably if I didn't have kids.
Yeah,
but I cannot fathom smoking a cigarette with kids in your car.
my parents did it growing up.
No, mine didn't. But
yeah, but anyway, Brett Comenzioli says maybe a designated area. Maybe you pick, if there happens to be, find the hole that has the backup usually, and maybe you say, okay, you can do it on this area, have a nice receptacle for them, this and that, but you can't do it in other places. And if you happen to get stuck at a spot where there's no holdup, like if that's your first or second or third hole, you're out of luck. Maybe, it is what it is. So.
Okay. Well, so great topic. Talk about it. I think the other takeaway from it can be at a place like Sandy Point, a place like private or not really, it shouldn't matter, but especially when it's private and you're more or less allowing or inviting people onto your property to play, you're charging a greens fee, you're doing all this other stuff, but then to walk around, and as the owners are non-smokers there, for anyone to walk around and pick up cigarette butts, I think it's disgusting, and it's littering, and it's just not fun. So from an aesthetics perspective, of course, everybody on the board that I know is, I pack them up. Somehow somebody doesn't. You always love it when people say that.
Correct.
Well, I do that. I always pick up after my dog. Well, if everybody picked up after their dog, I would never see it on the course, but that apparently isn't the case. So anyway, kind of a fun or interesting topic. You guys can fight it out amongst yourselves. I think if you're a smoker or not also largely dictates your feelings on this.
Of course. I think very few. I think there's a very small Venn diagram of people who do smoke frequently that would say, oh no, I think it should be banned at courses or at tournaments or a particular event that's not, let's say, a very large event. All right, we're going to talk about the newest discussion about the Disc Golf Pro Tour. The article that Steve Dodge put out about the Pro Tour cards. And there was some back and forth.
Like credit cards?
You never know. There was some.
They're going big next year.
Yeah, that's right. It is black. It's a black card.
I want one.
That's a fancy. No, what this is what your typical Pro Tour card is. We'll say for golf, you are getting a touring card. So it says here, over the next few years, our goal is to create an environment where 72 men and 20 or more women, hopefully eventually 72, can earn their livings as a touring pro. These players will be the best of the best in our sport, and they're going to have the Pro Tour cards because they have earned them. To earn a spot on the Pro Tour, the MPO players need to qualify for the Tour Championship, which means finish in the top 48, be in the top 24 in the Pro Tour Power Rankings as of 11/1/2016. For the FPO, it is the top 8 of the Pro Tour rankings. Now, players that qualify for the 2017 Pro Tour cards, and there was some funny discussion back and forth about this, as there always is, they will be able to register to be on tour. So I'm assuming that you will get maybe preferential treatment or first dibs, as they say, to get a spot. Or you can sign up for the whole year. I believe the Pro Tour did that this year. So it says you secure a spot at each of the Pro Tour events. So I'm assuming, like USDGC, you have a time that you need to sign up by, because they're not going to secure you up until the day of. I imagine it'll be a couple of weeks beforehand that they'll then say, okay, we're giving away your spot. You're going to get a player profile page on the Pro Tour website. Now, I thought this was kind of cool, and I would love to see it that if, let's say, Terry, you got a player profile on the Pro Tour website, that you would have exclusive access to edit that. And I don't know if that's the case, but I think that'd be kind of cool. You could pick your own picture. Maybe you could write your own little bio. Maybe you go and fill out a form. 5 favorite courses. Here's the picture I want. Here's my top 5 discs. And here's my biggest disc golf achievement or my favorite shot, something like that. And then you could go in and update that whenever you want. Maybe your Pro Tour card has a little code on it that lets you edit it. It says here you'll be in at least one off-season interview with the Pro Tour. And I know this is part of the Pro Tour. They're trying to get this media stuff going for our benefit, for their benefit, for everything. So that's cool. And this is the one where people were really confused. You will have a card in the 2017 Pro Tour trading card deck. So it's basically a baseball card.
Yeah, what's so confusing about that?
People were confused at the Touring Pro card and a physical trading card.
Okay.
And there's... I understood it right away, but there was 3 or 4 people that were going back and forth like, I don't understand. What do they mean by this and this? So, yeah. So you're going to get a kind of a cool card. So it sounds like they're going to come out with maybe a trading deck, collect them all, like Pokemon, something like that. Steve Dodge finishes up by saying, we're very excited for the future of the sport, for having the opportunity to showcase the skills of these players, and for the tremendous support we've received from the discing community. We feel this will be a significant step toward legitimizing the concept of being a pro disc golfer. What do you think? So, Terry, I'm going to throw it to you. What do you think? Are they missing anything? Do they need to change or add anything?
Well, what we've seen and learned throughout the years is the PDGA for the longest time had a touring card, PDGA Tour card, and you could earn it in a variety of ways with, money won or events played or rating. There was a number of different things, and then that got you a number of different advantages or perks. It was maybe a better word. But there always seemed to be some kind of confusion around it. And whether it was laid out crystal clear or not, there was always confusion around it. And then some people say, we really need that, and that needs to be implemented, and where is that? And let's get to it, because that needs to help me right now. I think I've heard players say that. And then there's other people that say, oh, I don't even really care what it is. I don't know what it is. It doesn't mean anything to me. So I think the number one thing Steve needs to worry about, or the Pro Tour needs to worry about, is if you're going to make a big deal of it, make sure that it's big deal worthy, if that makes sense. If you're going to tout it or put it out there as something unique or special or earned, then have the benefits or the advantages kind of match that. Make it a little bit exclusive, those types of things. And that's all going to come in due time, because if you can sign up for any event at any time and it's never a problem getting in, well, then these cards are going to seem a little less advantageous. But as tournaments start to fill and people are shut out from the Green Mountain Championships, shut out from the Minnesota Majestic, then some of these cards can come into play. The question is, and I'm going to call them out directly, I've seen sometimes both sides of the fence played by Jamie Mosier, who says, I'm a touring player. I tour as much or more than any other person out there. I'm out there as much as Yuli. I'm literally all around the country. I'm in Florida for many months. Then I tour all around the rest of the world. You're right. You are a touring disc golfer. But when you're rated 960 or 970, does that still carry the same weight as the touring disc golfer that's rated 1002?
No.
So I know at one point the PDGA's one of the criteria was a particular rating in which you met. And Jamie's gone up and down. He's fluctuated in his ratings throughout the years. He's been very high rated and he's been lesser rated. But he always makes that argument about how he's a touring disc golfer. By definition, he is a disc golfer that is touring around the country. Are we trying to define him as a professional touring golfer? And I think that's something that needs to be looked at. Is it sheer quantity? Is it quality of play? Is it quality of events? Those are all types of things that need to be looked at. So, that's where I'll stand on that. And I know Jamie is very vocal. Jamie also needs to get on a committee because he is the first guy to get onto social media and typically challenge a TD and or policies
regarding something or other.
And I'd like to see him put that into a positive format and maybe join a committee where that can be heard a little louder.
this will get solved very quickly when
Not to pick on you, Jamie. I'm just calling you out.
That's kind of picking on him.
No, it's a difference.
That's a fine line you're drawing there. Robert says, this may sort itself out when you say the top 72 players, because it's going to be limited to 72. So if Jamie Mosier is 75, guess what? You don't get your card. I don't care if you...
And then you know what the first thing Jamie will say is? Because I know how Jamie interacts. He'll say, why isn't it 100? Should be top 100.
Well, 72 makes sense because of the 18
he'll say 100.
foursomes.
I'm just saying, I know Jamie and how he interacts. He would say, well, it should be 100 people.
Let's take our personal steps back a little bit. I know you've had a lot of dealings with him, and you've and
I just like, how does Bobby Brown say that at that other podcast?
Keep it real.
Keep it real.
Careful, they might come after us for that.
That's not.
No, I know. So yeah, so there's that. So there's gonna be 72, which makes sense. It's a perfect number. Blah blah blah. The other one of the things Chris Cobb brought up is these trading cards. Are they going to be for sale?
What's the deadline?
What's the deadline for them? And do the players get a cut of those sales? If Paul McBeth sells 1,000 Paul McBeth cards, or if there's 1,000 Paul McBeths and there's 3 Terry Miller cards sold.
Me and the disc golf guy and my kid. Okay. I think who would buy those.
No, I'm just saying if there were 3 total sold,
mm-hmm.
and McBeth makes, we'll just say each one's $1. I don't know. So there's $1,000. Does Paul get a cut of that? Does Paul get likeness rights? Does he sign off on that and say, being part of the Pro Tour precludes? I don't know what the numbers are. I don't.
Let's take it a step further.
I don't know if you can do that.
Let's
but whatever.
use a similar situation in whether it's let's say it's a DVDs are outdated, but let's say a DVD. I say, hey Johnny, you're playing the Pro Tour this year. At the end of the year, I'm going to create a highlight DVD of every single shot of Johnny V's from the Pro, and I make $5,000 on that. It's the Johnny V highlight reel, albeit short. It's the Johnny V highlight reel. Like do I owe you a cut of that? Or if I made a poster? I mean, trading cards, I know we're talking about one thing specific. Let's extrapolate that out to any given item.
I think
a mug. If I make the Paul McBeth,
there might yes. I think there might be a fine, and of course we're not lawyers. We don't even pretend to be one on TV. I think there would be a fine line between saying, okay, I'm making a Pro Tour highlight DVD, and Paul's on the cover, and maybe Ricky's on the cover, and I sell $5,000 worth of them, as opposed to an individualized item based on that player. Now, I would say the DVD is based on the highlight shots. You're highlighting 100 people, we'll say. The card, you're really focusing on one particular person, and I think that's kind of where you like, or a poster, or can I order a bunch of discs with Paul McBeth's face on them and sell them? I don't know. I don't think you legally can. I think there's a line there that there's a likeness rights. He could, in theory, come after us if we did that. So let's not do that.
I don't know.
I mean, that's really what's behind this curtain. It's 40 Paul McBeth putters with his face. It's creepy. So it's smarter people than us can chime in, but
it'll be interesting to see how that unfolds. And I'm sure there's going to be some legalese there somewhere as the tour progresses. Right now, I believe when you sign up for the PDGA, you are, in fact, allowing for the likeness to be used.
To be used, not necessarily sold.
Okay.
Like, of course, like when you play a PDGA event, they can use your likeness. They can put it on the website. They can put it on a PDGA poster. But I don't know where the line is to say, if the PDGA turn on, say Paul McBeth, who's going to ESPN tomorrow, suddenly blows up in the next 6 weeks. Suddenly Paul McBeth is everywhere.
Oh, like he gets good. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if the PDGA can turn around and suddenly have a Paul McBeth poster and sell it for money.
Okay.
Even now, if it's part of like a PDGA poster, I think there's some rights there. But if you straight up have a Paul McBeth poster, Paul McBeth dunking on you, which you guys are both same height. He's a little taller.
Roughly.
So anyway, I don't know if you can do that. I don't think by playing in a PDGA event, you are giving up all of your likeness rights for all items. I think, I don't know. I mean, it makes sense in my head, but it's a little bit harder to vocalize.
And Tommy, I'm going to disagree again. Neither of us are lawyers, but saying PDGA is not for profit, trading cards would be for profit. Well, first of all, Well, first of all, PDGA and Disc Golf Pro Tour are separate, which may or may not be relevant here. Just because somebody's a nonprofit doesn't mean that they can't profit on an item or profit on selling stuff. Clearly, nonprofits sell things all the time or raise money in various ways that are profitable. Just because you're nonprofit doesn't mean that you can't make money on certain stuff. So, that'll be a good question for Dodge, and it'll be, some of our people have talked about how our players need agents. Let's take that a step further and say, whether it's let's say the Pro Tour wants to create a Paul Macbeth mug while Paul Macbeth is wearing his Innova shirt. And Innova currently not being a primary sponsor of the Pro Tour, is that like when you and I would get the the George Brett and Bo Jackson baseball cards, and rather than it saying Kansas City Royals, it just had a blue, blue,
the post cereal version,
exactly, and there wouldn't be a Raiders
logo,
exactly, or Kobe Bryant with this just blue and yellow uniform, but or purple and yellow, sorry. But no Lakers is your representation. So I don't know where all that's going to go. Will be interesting to see and have it unfold.
I say we're hopefully years from that. Knock on wood, we're not. Like I said, that'd be awesome if in a year suddenly people were, clamoring for all these players. But you and I don't necessarily see that happening. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say, if Steve Dodge went to these players and said, "Hey, I want to make a playing card set with all you guys. Is that cool?" I'm guessing 72 out of 72 are going to go, "Yeah, go ahead. I think that's pretty cool." Maybe they'll ask for a set.
Sure.
Or a copy of one or something.
Well,
but my guess is that, that's where most of them stand. Now,
yeah, just to be part of it. And I have a little bit of experience in this regard, just slightly, albeit a little bit more dated. Back in 2005 and 2006, I had reached out to Barry Schultz, to Ken Climo, and to Des Redding about producing the first ever set of disc golf bobbleheads available for me today, but reached out to them about using their likeness and, of course, taking pictures and getting their permission. And with their permission, we came up with an agreement with all three of them. I had come up with an agreement, and I believe I may have even had a conversation with some regard with Innova, because, of course, all three of them were and still are sponsored by Innova. And the question for that exact same reason was, when I get their molds and their likenesses made up for these bobbleheads, do we want any kind of Innova representation on it? And then I'll take it a step further, and the question also became to the PDGA. I remember emailing and going back and forth with Brian Graham or someone else saying, what about PDGA representation, putting on their PDGA number or a PDGA logo, associating that? And could these be the official bobblehead of the PDGA? And there were licensing and fees that all went along with that. So it can get a little bit messy, and I think if anyone's going to do it, just like everything else, they need to do it on the up and up. We're a really small, tight-knit community. So if you go out and you try something that is just completely shady or shisty or not on the up and up, people like me eventually find out, and then I blast you on our silly little podcast, and I call you out on it. Because, you don't want to do that. Whatever the compensation is, you just make sure you have all your bases covered.
Agreed.
So it could be very interesting to see if that will happen. Ryan Hunt says he pays for his number, his PDGA number. It's an interesting side topic of where that could all go.
Sure.
All right, I think we're just about ready. I reached out to Paul Ulibarri. He has told me that he's going to be ready to join us here in a few moments. Obviously, we have our segment, Uli's Picks, and he says he's going to be ready to go. So if you can dial him up there, Johnny V,
I'm waiting.
Or if we can...
I see him. I'm just waiting for his little button to turn green. So as soon as that turns green, I can dial him up now to see if he'll answer.
Sure. Let's give it a whirl. And we'll get Paul Ulibarri on the line. We'll talk a little bit about the picks that we all made last week at the event, and then also the picks that we will make for this week's upcoming event, which I believe is going to be the U.S. Masters PDGA Major, taking place for our age-protected divisions, 40 and over. or turning 40 this year and over, I guess is how I'd reword that.
Paul, do you want to send us your video?
Everybody wants to see you.
Hey, oh, hold on. Well, hold on. No one can see that. Oh, there we go.
Oh.
That is really not. Those are.
Oh, sorry, guys.
All right, welcoming to the show, we've got...
I was going to ask, who are the Steelers even playing this week?
Really?
What are the Steelers?
We've got Paul Ulibarri and Big Germ, Jeremy Colling.
Go Panthers. Sorry for that.
Oh, UWM Panthers, where you and I graduated from.
Yeah.
It's his first time.
Listen to his Panther. It's actually really good.
Okay.
Not right now.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Don't be shy with us, Yuli. Wow.
That's pretty good.
It's really good.
That is really good. I'll give you that. That is pretty good. Our alma mater for college was the UWM Panthers. So we are.
I think you guys could have a side gig this summer or winter.
We are mutual Panthers, even though.
Solo Cougars, man.
Sholo
Okay.
Cougars?
Yeah.
Panthers, baby.
Sholo Cougars. Okay, we'll go with that. So, gentlemen,
Those usually aren't the Cougars Terry's hunting.
you guys are on Nantucket Island. Is that correct?
Whoop whoop.
Yep.
And how are things going so far? You guys just arrived today? Is that what the Facebooks told us?
Go ahead.
Yeah, man. It's been a long day. I got on the island at about 8 o'clock in the morning, 2-hour ferry. Got up at 5 o'clock, and I've been here all day, and it's been a beautiful day. And everything was going real well until realized the transportation system was going to be bikes all week.
Yes, bicycles. Now, when I bought a ferry ticket today, and it said, one of the questions on there as you were purchasing the tickets is, how many bikes are you bringing with you? And I was like, I feel inadequate. I don't have a bike or bikes that I'm bringing along.
Terry, I don't think you understand the problem.
Okay.
Germ can't ride a bike.
Is that true, Germ?
Out of line.
This is not a joke. It's not that I can't ride a bike. I rode a bike 10 miles today.
No.
But in my lifetime, I have amassed less than 10 miles total on a bike.
Why is that?
Why is that? Like, didn't you? Like, I mean, maybe it's clearly different than us growing up. I mean, we lived on our bikes, neighborhoods, friends, things in that. Clearly not your
You
case.
guys had cool childhoods.
Did you
Great.
not have neighborhoods or friends?
Did you not have friends
or
to go-
neighborhoods?
Look, I had 6 friends, and they all lived within, like, I could throw it
in your head?
to
They
how
all
far
lived in
live
your
now.
head.
What kind of person doesn't have a bike?
Look, man, this kind of person. I didn't grow up with bikes.
Unreal.
The expression when you blah, blah, blah is like riding a bike. I've never known what that meant because I've never been able to ride a bike, okay? I never wanted to. I never was like,
You
riding a
never
bike.
could, I think, is
Going fast speeds into bushes or cars or fire hydrants doesn't sound like a good time.
No,
And so
But
was-
I think of like mountain biking, which has gone in and out of trendiness and was a really big deal and still obviously is enjoyed by millions every year. Mountain biking, especially like in
mountain biking gets the big nope seal of approval from Big Germ.
I'm with
Nope.
you. I'm with you there, Germ. Now, Paul, am I correct in saying that you, or was it your brother? I've seen you guys do different stuff. Were you a dirt biking kid growing up, or was that skateboarding?
Yeah, skateboarding. My
Skateboarding.
brother was a professional BMXer.
Your brother was the BMXer. Okay, so that's
Me too.
So I always thought that I was awful at riding a bike, and compared to him,
you really
I look
did
like
you
Dave
really did
Mirra.
need a tandem bike. That would
Here's
have
a
worked
true
out better.
so
story.
you
All
you
this
look
ones
like
you
Dave
guys don't know
Mirra
this.
compared to him.
But Paul literally
R.I.P.
came
Dave
back from riding a bike and went to the bathroom and threw up because his stomach hurt so bad from laughing at me for about 2 hours today.
it was the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life.
I
Wow.
literally I was passing people and I was frightened
How did you get
for
past
their
people?
safety and mine. Like I was like, at any moment this bike could fishtail.
What?
Do you guys ride at all? Like, do you understand like how long it takes you to ride a bike somewhere? We
yeah, of
rode
course.
5 miles. It took us an hour and 15.
No, it went from
Whoa.
45 minutes to an hour and 15. He's making up numbers. It took a long time, but it wasn't as long as
It
he
was
said. No,
an hour and 15 minutes.
that's
I mean,
total. There and
Wow.
back.
Like
Did you have a helmet and knee pads on, Germ?
And I actually we'll just go ahead and say that I did not have those.
You
things.
probably should have.
I went for
Yes.
I went for a
Got
ride.
hit by a truck twice.
Wow.
The truck, that was the truck's fault and not mine, and that's the truth.
I went for a
How
bike
many-
ride 2 weeks ago. Yeah, just like a mile or two.
How many vehicles? I've yet to be there. How many vehicles are on the island? I mean, is this
There's quite a few.
Tons. It just
Yeah.
it's expensive to get your car on the island. I think that it said it was $200 each direction.
Yep.
To get a ferry to bring the vehicle over. Had I known that we weren't going to have cars, I would have paid the $200 each way gladly, and not thought twice about riding a bike for the rest of the week.
And you didn't think about stopping and maybe instead getting like a set of rollerblades or
We've been
quad
trying to
skates?
discuss alternative
He said
modes
he
of
can't.
transportation.
He said anything
since
wheels,
then.
he's not good unless it's a car.
Yeah, and I'm great with cars. Really good with cars.
Uh,
No incidents with cars since I've been driving. Knock on wood.
Okay.
But
Wow.
no.
All right.
No.
Well, this
For
is
me, when it comes to skateboards, wakeboards, anything with boards, anything with skates, anything with wheels that's not shoes, rubber, soles, and cleats, I'm very good with. Everything else,
He's just
Wow.
not very good at stuff.
But I was just gonna say, Germ, you're a skilled individual. You throw
I appreciate
you
that.
throw
Thank you.
frisbees pretty well.
it maybe
I'll take that.
some.
That's good.
We have some.
Why don't you just imagine that there's frisbees instead of tires?
I did that on the way home. See, on the way back, he won't tell you that I actually did quite well, and I only stopped probably 3 or 4 times.
Now, why did you stop? Just because you got scared? You stopped because you got tired? You stopped?
You
I
were going
stopped
too fast?
one time because I ran into a briar bush.
So
I mean, it's and this is really funny, Jerm, because I've
It's
been
great, I know.
I've been trying to teach my son, who's 7, how to ride a bike, and he
I feel
freaked.
like there's some sort of condescending
Not at
underlying
all. Not at all.
comment
He
mixed in this
He
somewhere.
freaks out. Like he's good if I push him. I wonder. I imagine Yuli. I imagine Yuli pushing you to get you started, but he has a hard time starting himself, kind of kicking himself up and going because he freaks out once his steering goes. He doesn't think just to lock your arms in.
They're wobbling, dude. I'm telling you, the struggle's
He-
real for someone who's
He
gone.
pulled his hands off the handlebars and he couldn't open his hands. He had to like pull them this way.
I was
I'm not
holding
lying.
onto the handlebars so
I just-
tight that my knuckles were literally locked in
I
place.
just-
When I finally came to a stop, I couldn't release the handlebars because my knuckles were so tight.
I just have this image in my head of Germ sitting on a bike and Yuli with the bike seat, like, all right, ready to go. I'm gonna start running and you get going.
Hey, I went Facebook Live with him.
I
for
saw
about-
part of that.
for
Yeah.
a few minutes.
I didn't know what was going on. I'm like, okay, I think they're bike riding, but I don't know why he's showing.
I was waiting for him
and
to crash.
We were doing bike stopping, is what
Sure.
it was. The first half of the trip was bike stopping. There was
Yeah.
not much riding, but we eventually got to our destination and we made it back safely. And I'm sore, but we're here. So
Well, congratulations. I'm glad.
thank you. That's
you
all
know,
I was really
better.
looking for, and I thank you.
This
very
is
much
your
for that.
episode of Better Know a Germ.
We were
So-
proud of him. He made it back home.
So what's
safe.
the plan for the rest of the weekend here, Germ?
Not leave
And
the
it's
room.
a lot of really fun activities. I'm sure everybody's gonna love.
Okay, what's the transportation plan? I should have clarified.
Uber.
Uber everywhere. for
Yeah, there
sure.
you go.
I don't know,
Uber
man.
everywhere.
I'm literally trying to figure this out right now because I'm probably gonna bike a few more places, and I'm probably not gonna like it, and I'm gonna continue to be really sore on all parts of my body. But if I can figure something else out, I'll let you guys know because right now I'm not digging it.
I have 2 suggestions. The first, like we said, get a tandem bike. You and Paul.
That was a suggestion that
But
I
he's
thought
too
would.
big.
I'm big. I'm
I know.
6'6", 230. It's
I'm with you there. I mean, I got a few pounds on you, but yeah, I'm 6'6" as well. And or
Terry
buy-
in the front.
poor Terry. Or just saying, if you know, get one of those pull behind things that have
That's you know what that suggestion has already been made as well. Look,
just saying,
man,
nigga, baby.
we're digging deep here.
You'll-
We'll figure something
you'll-
out.
we'll get
It's
something.
going to be an amazing week. I'm just probably going to get hurt quite a bit.
Well, we'll know when.
What's your biggest fear
My biggest fear? Oh gosh, I don't know.
in
like-
relation to the bike riding?
Oh, and really,
Oh, I was gonna say probably sharks wrapped in snakes, but I don't know. My biggest fear is literally going around any sort of corners at any speed other than like stopped speed is
Okay.
kind of scary. And like once I start, like I guess I'm scared that I'm gonna like fall into traffic, which I think everyone that saw me ride a bike today would probably has the same fear for me.
Like,
So
every time there was
I guess
traffic.
dying would probably be the highest
Sure.
fear, and it's also the most realistic fear that I
And
have.
maybe we just take balance for granted. Like it was, probably 10 or 12 years between, when I started picking up a bike again, and I just got on and I was like, oh, all right, well there you go, and you start going.
10 seconds later.
And 10 seconds later, you're good to go.
Everyone figures this out as a young kid. When you're 30, it's just
it's a lot different, and I'm giving
it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks.
I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it's not as easy as we think if you were not taught as a child.
Everyone grows up riding bikes. Everyone. I didn't, so it's hard for anyone to relate to me in this situation. If somebody's out there,
some training wheels,
grew up that did not ride bikes. Please,
there's nobody even on the
let's
chat
join
room.
a club. Like, I know.
I can ride a bike.
So it's
true.
safe to say mopeds and motorcycles
Yeah, let's
are
put an engine on a
way
bike for 'em.
okay.
That's
Okay,
Two wheels is half as many wheels as I need.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify. I have a motorcycle license myself. I used to have a scooter, the whole 9 yards. But
I feel
yeah,
like
no.
everyone's getting cocky right now.
Don't say that out loud, Terry.
College.
Hey,
College.
I used to ride a scooter.
Having a little scooter when you're in college is very useful to get around if you want to go get some groceries or go grab some drinks.
The wedgie. Yeah,
or wedgie. Don't give me your eye.
Come on now.
I think the time I feel the most self-conscious about it is when I go to Finland or anywhere in Europe and like there's 14, 15-year-old like tiny kids just driving around scooters and bikes and motorcycles and stuff like that. Like that's how they get around. And I'm like, you guys could seriously get hurt. Like I'm thinking that in my head. I'm like, God, I'm such an idiot. Like I'm like scared for them, but like they clearly have all the confidence and they know how to ride those things.
So
like,
during like the Tour de France, you don't have like nightmares or anything, do you?
Have you guys
That's a
watched
dumb
Shark?
question.
Have you guys watched
Of course I
Shark
get
Tank
nightmares.
before, right? They bring cool inventions or whatever.
Yep.
And one of the episodes where they took the wheels off and then the little kids just like push themselves around.
Oh
that
yeah,
bike.
yeah.
I've seen that one actually.
We need to get one of those for you.
That'd be good.
I think one of the coolest things I've ever seen, it might have been a TED Talk or some other video, viral video, is when they took a gentleman, took the steering wheel and basically re-engineered it to be backwards. And so for someone like you, Yuli, who's incredibly talented and balanced and used to riding a bike, or even your brother, and then the steering wheel was backwards, so left was right, right was left. Yeah. And it's just amazing to watch because your brain, the way your brain, it's a kind of a scientific thing, but definitely, I bet you that gentleman
I'd love
or
to
those,
see that.
yeah, you should, when we're done with the segment, go out and look at that. But that is probably what Germ looked like trying to ride. Maybe not, but
No,
it's an amazing thing about your
the thing
brain.
Is, I'm on this tiny bike, and I kept putting the seat up, and the seat would sink down.
It's a full size like mountain bike, like road bike.
That was going to be my
one
next
person bike,
question.
but I'm too big for
not
it,
tiny.
and my knees were like bowed out sideways. Like I
looked
couldn't
like
get him to go up and down because
Bow Wowzer from Mario Kart.
Bow Wowzer.
Bow? Did you say Bow Wowzer?
Not Bow Wowzer. Who's Bow Wowzer? That sounds like a little rapper.
It was.
He makes
No.
Bow Wow. I mean,
No.
go.
Germ's right. It's just Bowser.
Whatever.
But
My
All
man.
right.
you know the worst thing now, and being teaching your kids to ride. I go riding with my kids is having to be an adult wearing a helmet, like setting a standard for
That's
like
why I didn't
for
wear a
your
helmet.
for
I
your
couldn't
kids.
bear-
Because growing up, we never wore them ever. I mean, you just didn't. If you fell and hit
No.
your head on a curb, guess what? You were dumb, and everyone
I just
made fun
wear
of you.
this.
But that'll keep a lot of things away. But no, now you have to set a good example for your kid. So I've got a nice racing helmet or whatever. My kid has this one with the big spikes on it, whatever. And I even I'll ride by myself and I'm like, oh, I should put a helmet on. That's my hate for
I'm
my
gonna
kid
have to
to see
figure this
me.
out someday because I'm not gonna let my future wife teach the kids how to ride a bike while Dad's sitting there like, why is Dad not riding? And then I have to explain.
True.
Dad doesn't ride.
Dad's
bike.
there breastfeeding, and the mom's.
I'm gonna have to figure this out at some point. I just tell you. Whew.
All right.
Da-dun-da-dun!
Bow Wowzer.
Anyways, moving on.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about last week's domination.
There's no domination. We all got the same amount of points. Everybody got 3 points.
Which we know who that doesn't hurt.
It doesn't hurt you
This guy.
because
Is Terry winning?
Is Terry
Jesus.
winning? Has Terry ever not won? Yes, Terry's winning. Terry
wow.
opened up to a sizable lead very early in this.
And basically
he's-
has been maintaining.
And then once in a while, I'll dip down a point or two, and they'll get me by a whopping point or two. But yes, Terry, week
One
in
time
and
I
week
think I
out.
got you by 6, bud. Let's not go crazy.
Okay, let's not start with the perfect week I opened with. But anyway, so this has been just domination this entire way. And my favorite part of the segment is how Yuli told us that he's got this distinct advantage because he's on the tour and he has the inside scoop. And then
Come on, I picked Macbeth to win one time.
And then
all year.
there's been times where he's picked people that aren't even at a tournament, and that's who he's picking to win. So I'm not sure his inside scoop.
I'll give him that. Now,
What are you gonna do?
we all picked Ricky to win, which clearly he didn't.
Jeez.
Barry decided he was going to pick it up. We all had Barry in there, and it kind of rotated. You had I had Dickerson. I think you had you also had Conrad in there, but then you threw somebody else.
Bradley Williams,
You threw
probably?
Bradley Williams in there. No, he did not have Bradley Williams
Oh,
in
he
there.
didn't.
But he had Ricky, Barry. Let me look
Conrad and
I think I
Dickerson.
had Dickerson maybe.
and Dickerson. And Dickerson took 6, so that cost us all. So anyway, we all got 3 points because we didn't hit. We got 3 people, and none of us put them in the right position. So you got
So the way it works, Big Germ, is we pick an event. You pick the top 4 competitors. If you pick someone in the exact right spot, you get 3 points for them. If they're in the top 4, but it's not in the right spot, you get a single point for them. So in theory, a perfect week would be 12 points, and you could have all 4 people in the wrong spots, and you could get 4 points, for instance. So
Okay.
you're going to get the correct 4 people, but also in the 4 spots in which they finish.
What was the first tournament that you guys did this?
I don't know. I think they called it the 12-pointer. I think that's what I renamed it.
Oh my God.
Because I think I picked all 4 people.
Historians will know that day as the 12-pointer.
I think
Yes.
you picked the Memorial.
It might have been gentlemen's.
Vegas.
It was the Gentlemen's Club. Yep.
Oh wow! So
Was
it's the
that it?
beginning of the year. Wow.
Yep. It was the very beginning.
So
of
this
the
has
year.
been going on and on and on throughout the entire year here, and
Wow, you got all 4 at Vegas. That's pretty impressive.
so it's been pretty exciting.
You know,
Anyway.
what I don't like is that you're winning by a lot, and that means that you're clearly doing well with your picks, which means that you clearly haven't been picking me in the top 4 because you would get them all wrong, which bothers me because you don't have any faith in me.
Well, I've got to admit, there's I don't want to say an ounce of awkwardness. I think we're over that, but
Actually, I take it back. Our very first event was the Wintertime Open, which you got 12 out of 12. Our second one was the Gentlemen's Club, which you had 0 points at.
well, and the winner got what? Or how many did you guys have? Like 2?
I had 1. Yuli had 1.
Yeah, because nobody picked
Hey,
anything right
Gentlemen's
at.
would have been a tough one to pick. but
Yeah.
anyways.
Anyways, what I was saying was the awkwardness can be where we have someone like a Nate Sexton step in, or a Paul Macbeth who's been on the line for a few of these, or a Yuli, and then we talk hand in hand or face to face about or with these people, and then they go ahead and say, okay, here's where I'm placing myself. Or Yuli, when he doesn't pick himself to win, or if he doesn't pick himself in the top 4, you know, there's kind of some of that, I don't know, some keeping it real in your face kind of dialogue and conversation that takes place. It's interesting. And then
Well,
usually,
if I wanted to win, I probably wouldn't pick me to win every event either. You know
Okay.
what I mean? I thought it was Paul.
well, and then
I'm
there's,
saying I would definitely pick me to win every
Actually,
event.
the few times that I've picked myself, I've pointed.
Oh, congratulations.
and then
And
we
I
have
didn't
followers
expect
like,
to win the tournament, but I got points.
yeah, and people like Nate Sexton or Paul Macbeth, who we know watch the show. They'll come and challenge and say, hey, why'd you they'll say, you picked me third, or you didn't pick me to win, or whatever. There's
I've
usually
never picked Paul to win.
so
That's the best. Honestly, before I knew about the Yuli's picks, I knew that was going to be the result all year long, and it's made me laugh every single time. Like, I love it so
well,
much.
unfortunately, it hasn't also worked out well for him. So I guess it depends
Yeah, I
on.
can imagine why.
You see this? Yes, it has.
All right. So we had a conversation, a brief one, about whether we wanted to do the picks for Nantucket or if we wanted to keep it a little bit bigger and go with the U.S. Masters. And Yuli said, let's go with the U.S. Masters. And I think that's where we're at. How's that sound?
That sounds good. I led off last week, so Terry, why don't you lead off this week?
Wow. Well, I'm taking a look right now, and Julie, I'll give you a little pro tip here. Barry Schultz nor Ken Climo are registered, so
Johnny McRae neither.
nor Johnny McRae, so I wouldn't pick any of them if I were you. But it is interesting that none of them are. I mean, we're talking about literally the 3 best masters in our game.
Well, they're not signed up yet.
Yeah, that's true. And Barry won this past weekend. So I don't know if maybe he just thought that, the travel after a tournament weekend going all the way across country wasn't worth it, or who knows.
I'll say I'm shocked. I was there when Barry won last year in Charlotte. Barry has performed very well at this event. Barry had a very special bond with Tim Selinsky at Innova. I think a lot of people that ever met Tim Selinsky also had a special bond because he was such an amazing guy. But I've seen him get emotional, and I've seen him win this with a little extra heart and soul. And so to have it move out to California this year to Stockton, and then to not have Schultz as the defending champion go out there, it honestly just blows me away. It surprises me.
It doesn't surprise me so much because he doesn't like to fly places.
Well, so. And that was exactly the point. And when I had heard that he wasn't going, immediately that's all I thought is, well, he's not a big flyer. He doesn't enjoy doing it. I don't remember the last time he flew to a tournament. That could have been maybe Fort Stelicom or possibly even a Japan in 2001. It's been a long time.
Barry Schultz has played disc golf in 2 countries, America and Japan.
Yes.
He's never and that I mean, to me, to think that one of the top 2, maybe 3 greatest players of all time has never been to one of what I think is like the greatest venue for the sport, which is Scandinavia, in terms of top tier tournaments. This is kind of mind blowing, but
it really is. Yeah, I mean, Barry was in Japan, and I believe Barry's only in Japan. Barry was only in Japan once, and that was in fact for the 2001 Akita game, or in Akita for the World Games. So he wasn't there for the Japan Opens or any of those other events. I believe he's only been there one time, and that was in Akita for the World Games. So
is he just scared to fly? I think that's what it is.
Kind of like Jeremy on a bicycle.
Oh wow,
it could be.
I think and we have a lot of our pros that I think feel this way. There's just a certain comfort level, not necessarily in terms of being scared in the air. I think there's a certain comfort level of having your car or your vehicle, having your bag, having your backup, all the extra shoes and clothing and umbrellas and everything you could possibly want. I think most of our pros just really now have gotten to that comfort level, and a lot of them, if they're taking it serious, don't want to get away from it. Is that a fair enough statement?
Caleb has recently said that he had a really bad flying experience.
Yeah.
Well, first freeze up here. Sorry if we've lost you there, Yuli.
Yeah. You guys locked up. Looks like, are we going to get him back?
That's a good question.
Oh,
looks like we've lost him here for
a
moment.
Lost him there.
We'll see if we can get him back here in a moment.
I think he was saying Kale had a really bad flying
experience recently.
There you go.
All right. Sorry about that. Well,
you said Kale had a really bad flying experience recently?
Yeah, and he expressed that he didn't ever want to fly again.
All right. Well, I suppose depending on.
But he hasn't. That's the point. Like, he hasn't been flying. He used to fly all over the place, I feel like.
Yeah, he would go to Scandinavia. He's Finnish. So like that's almost like going back home for him. And he hasn't been back to Finland in years. I know he likes to travel vacation down to Puerto Rico.
Their internet must not be very good in Nantucket.
Having a challenge here. We checked in with Yuli earlier, and he had said that things seem pretty good for the internet. So hopefully we can get through this glitch. We could probably cut our signal to them, see if that will improve anything. But
it doesn't seem to be that. They're not getting all pixelated. It's just cutting in and out for some reason. All right. Well, let's do this. Let's before this happens again, Terry, why don't we get, like I said, to your picks, actually, rather than you just rambling off on something or other.
Something about people flying and why they're not going places.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and call it as they're playing in Stockton, California. And the 4 people, I'm sorry, I was going to say the top 4 people, but I'm looking at about 99% of the people in the event are from California, it looks like. I'm going to go ahead and maybe go against the grain a little bit. I'm going to pick JB, Jonathan Baldwin, as our champion, our 2001 Masters World Champion, Jonathan Baldwin, taking down for first place.
2001. What?
Or 2011. Sorry, I forgot a decade there. 2011. 2011 World Champion, Jonathan Baldwin.
Okay.
Second place, I'm going to go with, I know he's been there battling, and that's where I really first started taking him serious, is when he was challenging Kenny and Barry at some of the first U.S. Masters. That was, in fact, Patrick Brown. Obviously, solid player. I'm going to go with, he says he's got the hot hand. He told me he's playing incredibly well. He can't wait to get back to California. He says he's just dying to get over there and not compete against Barry, Kenny, or Johnny. I'm going to go with Don Smith in third.
All right.
And then I'm going to go with Shasta Chris, who's also playing well.
He is.
And performed very well. I'm going to pick him in fourth.
All right.
So, recap, Jonathan Baldwin, Patrick Brown, Don Smith, and Shasta Chris. Those are 12 points.
Picks, but he got him wrong.
That's fine. Well, say that to the leader next Tuesday.
Let's hope not. All right, I'll go next. We'll leave.
I don't like talking to myself, but whatever.
That's fine. We'll leave our guests to finalize that. All right, so no surprise. First place, I went with Patrick Brown. I think he's going to win it. He's the highest rated player by a significant amount of points, and I think he's playing very well lately. He's from California. It's hard to pick.
Always playing well.
He is. It's hard to pick against him.
Yeah.
Second place, I went with Jonathan Baldwin.
Wow.
Yeah, I think Baldwin's solid. You can't go bet against him. Third place, Don Smith. I don't think Don's gonna be able to push his Brent Hambrick Memorial win into this particular event.
Actually, he got edged out
By Patrick Brown.
At the Brent Hambrick.
Yep. He was leading, went into the final round.
Oh, I didn't even know. I thought he won.
Watch the broadcast, bro.
I don't watch the broadcast. I'm busy doing the broadcast. And fourth and final place, I'm gonna take a pick here from Kevin McCoy.
Ooh.
Right off the board, and I'm gonna go with fourth place, Robert Bainbridge, out of Sacramento. You know what? I don't know much about Robert.
That's like picking a 12 over a 5 seed.
Hey, there's lots of upsets there.
No offense, Robert.
No, I'm just saying, like, Shasta's playing really well. And
He is.
I would say Shasta's a 5 seed in the NCAA tournament, and Bainbridge is closer to a 12 seed. But
there's usually one or two 12s over 5. So
exactly.
I'm gonna go.
You can't always go chalk.
Can't go chalk. I'm gonna go Robert for fourth. I'm gonna take that pick from Kev and say, Kev said, whatever you do, you better believe he's gonna be top 4.
And
so
Kevin, why aren't you out there? That's the real question. But go on.
Kev's got family. He's busy. All right, so those are my picks. Now,
do we go to Yuli or do we go to Big Germ?
I'll go.
Baller. All right, we'll go with Yuli.
Okay.
You can go with the clowns first, and then I'll finish it up the right way.
You tell us what's up.
First place, I am picking Shasta Chris. I think he's going to be ready. I think after Worlds, he's hungry for a major title. So Shasta's my man this week. And then second place, I'm going with Patrick Brown. Third, I'm going with Baldwin. And fourth, I'm going with Robert Ryan.
Oh, I was going to...
No,
okay.
I'm not.
I had another pick for him. As I don't know if it's an over-under. I don't know how the betting on that works. As to... will he spend more or less time shirtless during that week?
Wow. And that includes playing time?
Yeah, because in theory he's got to have a shirt on for at least the 3.5 to 4 hour round.
I say more time shirtless.
More time.
Okay,
for sure.
I think that's.
I'm taking the over.
Definitely taking the over on that.
Okay. All right.
Sure.
And I've said before, if I was ripped like Rob Ryan, I'd probably be shirtless too, and nobody wants to see me currently. But the guy can't keep a shirt on.
I don't even want to see him in person regardless.
Yeah, exactly. But that guy can't keep a shirt on. It's like he's allergic to him.
He might be allergic to cotton.
Maybe. Then I'd almost feel bad, but I wouldn't. All right.
All right, Big Germ. I got your name here. I'm gonna take your pick. Start at the top or the bottom. It's your choice.
I like his pick for Shasta at first. I'm gonna stick with that.
Now, do you think, real
Shasta-
quick, do you think Shasta has a advantage as he's been playing open for most of the year? You think that's helping him out quite a bit?
Shasta has been pushing himself. He's definitely taking his game to another level. Playing open has helped him, but then he's focused on the big events, playing Masters, and like Paul said, he's hungry after Worlds. I mean, Johnny McRae and glass blowing. You think about there's a lot of long open shots, and you would definitely think that a longer thrower like Johnny McRae would have a huge advantage. Mm-hmm. But Shasta played his game, and he can't quite throw as far as Johnny, but he did his thing. And I think that I've never been to Stockton. I don't know what the courses are like, but I know that Shasta's going to be back home. He's going to be back in Cali. He's going to feel at home. He's going to be hungry and ready for the first major he's ever going to win.
Awesome.
Of many.
Best of luck to him then.
Yep. Second, I'm actually going to go with another kind of a surprise second place pick, and I think that he's going to be pushing Shasta, but I'm going to go with Don Smith. Again, another man who's motivated. He's playing really well right now. He's got a ton of motivation right now, and there's just something about playing with that confidence and that momentum that he has right now. And
okay.
Again, another Cali guy.
Yep.
I mean the whole field is Cali guys, so
yeah.
Well, and another, I think what I see with both of those picks, they're both freshly welcome to the Masters division. Patrick's been there a few years.
Sure.
Obviously your Kennys, your Barrys, but those are two of the guys that have come in, and as you've said, hungry. They're the fresh faces. They're the baby faces of the Masters division, if that's not an oxymoron. But they're
kind of trending in the right direction right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I mean they're finding their game. They're finding their niche in the sport, and they're going after it. And it's awesome to watch them develop into to Masters powerhouses. And they're still relevant in the pro field when they want to play pro too. But they're getting the feel for the Masters division, and they're once you start getting the taste of that realistic vision of victory, you might lose that for a while when you play open. I know at times where I'm just I think about if I can win or not, and I'm just
can't wait till your Masters.
Yeah, I'm man, I'm counting down the years, because it's just crazy. I mean, you have to play so incredibly well and so consistent right now in the open field, but when you play Masters, you still do. I mean, gosh, the field. If the top players were all
there's room to make mistakes though, unlike in the open division. You have a little bit of leeway.
Right. There's just a few more mistakes, and it's not a ton more, and the shots aren't quite as long, and the lines aren't always as crisp unless you're Barry Schultz, who's still throwing the disc like a unicorn, just fairy dust, just perfect. But I mean, I've seen Barry play lately, and it's I didn't see him win Worlds. I wasn't playing then yet, but I can't imagine him not being as good now as he was then, because he's so good right now.
I'll be honest.
It's amazing to watch.
I don't think he's lost a step, period.
No, I don't think so either.
I
just think everyone else has gotten better. But
you're right. I think the competition has gone up.
Still.
Because he was never a huge thrower. So.
Anyways, going into third place, I think Patrick Brown's going to graffiti his name into third. I mean, I would be so shocked to see Patrick Brown in the top three. So I can't put him any lower than third place. I wouldn't want to anyways. And then I know it's kind of boring because it's the top four highest rated players, and they're all from Cali, but Jonathan Baldwin will definitely get top four somewhere. And I have him at fourth place.
All right.
Okay. So let's do something just for fun and speculation, since we have our official picks in. Add into the field Kenny, Barry, and
Johnny.
And Kevin McCoy.
Okay, throw Kevin in there. Do any of your does your winner change?
Of course. Hands down. I think for me, yeah.
Barry Schultz.
Okay.
Barry.
No, I was gonna say Johnny and then Barry on this particular. I don't know what this course is like, but my guess is it's not a heavily wooded course. If it's heavily wooded or more wooded, I go with Barry right now. But if it's not, I think I go Johnny. But it's those two.
If it has holes and a tee pads, then I go Barry.
Okay.
Okay.
Like, as long as there's holes, then yeah. He's so. I'm telling you.
You feel like he has an
lives in my
advantage on
hometown.
courses with baskets.
I don't play a ton of tournaments in North Carolina these days.
Tone poles, I'm going with
Kenny?
going with Barry still.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Tone poles, I'm going Jim Oates. Tone poles,
Oh.
I'm going Jim Oates
Ooh,
for
good-
sure. He'll
good
go
pull.
down to the Masters division.
He's great grandmaster.
Wow.
I'll go Jim. What's I can't think of the guy I want to think of now, but who's the rocket scientist from East Coast, West Virginia? You know what I'm talking about? The guy who works at NASA. He's been playing forever. Yep.
No.
No?
Yeah. No.
Johnny Sias.
I was going to say Johnny Sias. I didn't know. Okay.
Johnny Sias. If it's Tone
I didn't know
Poles,
he
Johnny
worked
Sias
there.
wins.
Hmm.
He's been playing disc golf since before it was invented.
Yeah.
So
He's been around a while.
I'm looking at the course, and it doesn't look heavily wooded. It looks sparsely.
Barry.
Sparsely. I'm just saying it looks sparsely wooded.
Okay.
By the way,
But I would still have actually Shasta. If you put those three names in there, he would bump down to fourth probably. Honestly.
okay.
Is it assumed then Kenny, or I'm sorry, Barry, Johnny,
Barry,
then Kenny?
John.
Do Johnny, Barry, and Kenny take the top 3 spots? Maybe I'll word it that
Yeah.
way.
one, yeah, and in no particular order, but yeah, I'd say so.
Okay. So
How
is it?
could you? I mean, but I don't know. Like Patrick Brown always shows up when the
Mhm.
big dogs show up too. So like, I actually have Patrick Brown jumping up spots if those three guys get in. Not to necessarily beat those three, but like, I don't think that Shasta and Don, for some reason, would. I think Patrick would be more competitive. He's got more of like a fierce side to him. It's like,
I see that. Yeah.
you know, like Don and Shasta like have incredible skill, but like I think that Patrick has this like different kind of like aggressive tenacity that steps up like when like the heavy hitters are around.
No, that makes sense. So at some point, those other guys help elevate his game, and then he
Yeah.
brings it to another level when he's playing against them. I think you guys have hit it right on the head in that Shasta, and I'll be the first to admit, I wouldn't have picked Shasta to finish in necessarily the top 2 or 3 at the World Championships, and there we are with 6 holes to go in the final 9, and he's tied. He's neck and neck with Johnny McRae, and if we weren't limited by our resources, we would have loved to get out and film all of that, and then he fell off after, literally with 5 or 6 holes to go, but he was right there, tied with McRae for the lead at the World Championships, ahead of Climo. He definitely proved that, he means some serious
Climo
business
didn't
and
even
he
make the
can
final
play.
9.
Exactly.
Way ahead of Climo.
So that's what I mean. Like, he's
That was an
proved,
anomaly, though.
he definitely proved that he can bring some serious game here. And like you guys said, he's maybe finding his stride or getting into his own here in the Masters field.
So Disc Golf Nerd just brings up, asks, did you just admit that people play better with better players?
No, I said that's what they were saying.
Oh,
I wouldn't say that's necessarily true.
okay.
No, you don't think?
I think certain players.
Yeah,
certain
sure,
players
right.
rise to the occasion, and certain players completely fall.
Correct. And if you need to rely on that,
You're in trouble.
then you're in trouble. Because I've said it before. If I go to my local pitch and putt league and I typically shoot 16 or 17 or 18 under because it's a super easy course, who's pushing me at that
He never
point?
shot 18 under.
Yeah,
I
he
have.
did.
But the point is, if I regularly shoot a 15 under at that course, who's pushing me
know
at
you
that point? And if I go out there and I played for 10 weeks and my average is 14.9 or 16.2, whatever it is, who cares? The point is, who's pushing me? Nobody. No one's playing better than me. So I always have a hard time, and that's just me on the tiniest scale. I think of that. You're telling me Paul Macbeth goes out and plays in a C tier? You're telling me he's not going to shoot what is 1080 quality golf?
No,
Of course he can.
No, we've had this discussion.
I know, that's my point.
Worse, and I'll say worse in quotes, worse players rely on their competition to play better. That's how they gauge and rate themselves. Better players play against themselves in the course and elevate themselves based on their own capabilities. Like the two gentlemen here. It doesn't matter who they're playing with. They're probably playing mostly to the top of their capability, except when they're not.
So what's going to happen?
Or they're riding a bike.
So what's going to happen this weekend in Nantucket? Should we do a little quasi set of picks for Nantucket? I mean, you guys are going to be there. And
Might as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
I can do a quick round.
I'd
I
like.
can't take the top 4 spots, but I can try to guess who might take
Barry.
Kenny, Johnny, Patrick.
All right, so I'll just sorting by rating. We have a 40-person open field as of right now, and you guys can attest to if any of this is changed that you know of. But right now, we show Macbeth at 10:55, Brinster at 10:21, Yulee at 10:20, Coling at 10:19, Gibson 10:14, Melton at 10:14, Dustin Keegan at 10:13. Then there's a
Melton's not coming.
okay.
Why would you?
I wasn't gonna pick him in the top 4.
Oh, what a rookie!
Don't share the
Melton's
knowledge.
not coming. He's already here.
Oh, okay.
sure.
Well, then I'm picking him second.
I mean, unless these guys disagree with me, and because they're playing, I think you have to pick Paul Macbeth to win.
Awkward.
I mean, you don't have to if you're you two. If you're me or
Awkward.
probably Terry, you kind of have to pick him. I mean, he's got 30 rating points over Brinster.
You pick him every weekend, anyways.
I know. Well, guess what?
You kind because of his brand new car.
Because he wins.
Because it's a brand new car.
Because of
Boy,
his
they get a brand new car,
stupid
so-
4-time world titles.
Stupid 1055 rating. After that, if I'm looking at this, I'd go Jeremy Coling
Wait.
second.
Before you go any further, I'd like to hear more about the course. It's a John Houck world-class design course, par 60, 61-ish. Did you guys get a chance, or were you too busy getting lost in the woods with Big Germ driving?
Last time I played it, I was actually at the end of the tournament hoisting the trophy above my head.
Okay.
Weird.
Weird.
Great.
Yeah.
How's the finger?
Oh, is that what that meant?
Yeah.
I thought that was code.
That's how he broke his finger. Actually, was hoisting trophies.
It was so heavy, I wasn't used to it.
All I do is win.
You hadn't hoisted one all year, and so when you did,
Like, what's this?
I don't know what to do.
Hey, no joke. It's funny you bring that up because that
You know-
tournament, when I won it, it would have been an exact year from the last time that I had won a PDGA event. I had to win it that weekend so that it wasn't a full year.
Ouch.
So- Yeah, but I did.
Well, you got a lot of number. I'm looking at your 2016 season. You've got a lot of ones on here, so you've won a few events this year. I'll give you that.
Did you say ones or slums?
I mean, hey, listen. If he has to win at the local DX tier,
Gosh, we lost him. I was mid rip on him.
yeah. Here, we'll continue mid rip. If he has to win at the local DX rated event to get his wins, who am I to judge?
No, a win's a win.
A win is a win.
All right, so
Are you talking about my win?
yes.
No.
I said, were those are those ones or slums? I didn't know what you.
Oh God! Ouch!
Tell
All
that
right.
to the people I beat.
I know. I'm in trouble now. No, but seriously, tell us about the course.
I haven't played it, so
Is it bike friendly?
No complaints yet.
It's like the worst place possible for Germ.
It's a sidearm course apparently, so
Oh, so
get
you're-
the picks ready, boys.
So you're gonna choke.
I
Is what
don't
they're
remember
saying.
exactly. I remember that it's a fair course. It's a long course, par fours,
Okay.
technical par threes, defined fairways. So it's definitely in my top. I think it's in my top 10, top 15 courses that I've ever played. So
Cool. All right. Well, that's not going to stop me from picking Coling over you. Your finger's all healed up, though, right?
no,
Okay. So, all right.
On
Then-
a scale of 1 to 10, how does it feel?
7 at best with a lot of Advil.
10 is worse than 1's really good, and he's a 7.
So you played in Toronto this last weekend. How did it feel? And kind of give us a recap of that for you.
Did you cry?
What?
Just saying. Sissy, are you a sissy? Did you cry over your little
First
finger?
off, we're trying to get insider information on how he's doing. Make your picks, and then we'll talk about that other stuff later.
Are you a little crybaby?
There's no crying in
There's
disc
no
golf.
crying in disc golf. All right.
So some would say there's no crying in bike riding until someone runs into a briar patch.
Hey, there's
Sorry.
briar patches are no joke.
All right. So, how are you feeling? Good?
I'm feeling all right.
He already told you. All right.
All right.
All right. So Macbeth, I would go Macbeth, Coling, Brinster, Gibson.
Ooh.
That's what I would go.
Brinster's really good in disc golf courses too.
Yeah. Yeah. Where there's if there's a tree within visual distance, I heard he's good. Deserts, not so much, but any trees. Like one tree, he's fine.
Oh man, I'm going Ulibarri, Macbeth, Barry Schultz. No, let's
Steve
go.
Rico.
He's right next to you.
Gibson Coling.
Oh.
Oh snap!
Oh, awkward.
Snap.
Oh, shit.
Well, why? Okay. Why Gibson over Coling?
Yep.
Why Gibson over Coling, and then why Coling in fourth?
Yeah, why Gibson over Coling?
Why not put Keegan over Coling?
Yeah.
Or hold on, let me scroll down.
I'll accept Keegan over Coling.
I think Drew just came off of his best finish of the year, and Visalia took second.
Yeah, correct.
He took second to Manubu, right?
Yep.
Fourth. Well, and
Manubu won.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
And so I just think he's playing well, and sometimes he has Jerem's number. It seems like.
Yeah, he has beat me a couple times, for sure. No, Drew's really good. Somebody asked me last week, they're like, "Is Drew Gibson good?" And I'm like, "Yeah, he's really good at disc golf." And regardless of what he says, he's really good at putting. He'll tell you he's the worst putter in the world just to get under your skin when he makes every single putt that you've ever seen.
We've got a guy.
Drew Gibson's getting better in the woods. He's getting more reliable out, and he's always been a good player on the open one because he can throw the disc so hard.
Did I say that? No, you're getting bumped out of the top. You're bumped out.
Ouch!
I forgot about Brinster.
You might as well just push him off his bike while you're at it.
Off an island.
He's gonna be sore the whole entire weekend.
That's a good point.
He's gonna be walking bow-legged the whole round.
I'm already walking bow-legged.
Brinster is gonna beat me. Brinster's gonna win. I'm taking second. Macbeth is taking second. I'm taking third.
And then Gibson.
Going second, fourth. Just kidding.
Drew Gibson's out of here.
All right, that's my final pick. I'm picking Brinster, Macbeth, Ulibarri, Gibson.
Okay.
Wow.
All right. Let me tell you what's really going to happen.
All right. Tell us.
I finally won my very first PDGA singles event last weekend. So clearly I'm the hottest player coming into this event.
Clearly.
I beat Brent Kuntz in a playoff
Mm-hmm.
in a one-day C-tier in Cleveland, and we had a great battle all around. And I'm telling you right now, I gained a lot of confidence from that, and I'm taking that into this event. And I'm going to win this tournament, and it's going to be national headlines because of the slaughter that's going to happen out there.
I heard that's why Macbeth's going to ESPN, is to talk about you and your recent win.
One second, Macbeth's going to ESPN?
Yeah, tomorrow.
Yeah, he was going to be there tomorrow for some reason.
That's cool.
He's announcing the top 10 now.
Okay.
He's
All right, so Macbeth might have just passed me. He might have just won the tournament with that, because that's cool information. I didn't know that.
Insider info, man.
I think that I'm coming into my form right now, and I'm really confident with my game, and my putting is really coming along. And as much as Paul has a seizure, you need water?
What? No, I didn't.
Here you go.
Appreciate it.
I'm actually feeling really confident right now, so I'm gonna say that I'm gonna win. I'm gonna say that Macbeth is going to get third place. Steve Brinster is going to get second place, and I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Dustin Keegan gets fourth.
all right.
Oh, he's just trying to fire back, at
This
Yuli.
is a one-day tournament, 2 rounds.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So I mean, that it's a lot of things can happen.
Oh, of course.
Who was the last person to win a one-day tournament in this entire field? Me.
Who's the last guy to play in one?
So here's
Me.
So
Actually, no, he finished on Monday, so he's technically the most recent player, but also the most recent loser too.
Hey, I gotta ask you guys a question.
Okay.
Go ahead. I'll wait. I'll save my question. You ask first.
No, this is important. So,
okay.
Tell me what you guys think about this. This happened to me. First hole, last round. Last round of the tournament. I'm serious. This is important.
How many rounds was it?
I step up to the hole. It's slight hyzer. Have you guys ever been to Toronto?
No.
It's a grassy course, and there's a river that runs alongside it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then, obviously, it's surrounded by the ocean. So.
Got it.
Yep.
Okay.
So you have to throw this low ceiling slight hyzer over water back onto the grass. And there's a wall. Okay, a cement wall that goes down to the water that's like 4 feet. Okay. So I throw my shot, I hit the wall, I go in the water.
Wait, which side of the wall do you hit?
Imagine I'm guessing it's kind of like Memorial Fountain Hills hole 1 where you hit the wall and you fall in. Okay.
Falls in the water. I get up there and I go to take it from where I hit, which would give me a 20-footer.
Mm-hmm.
And my card mates, I won't mention their names.
I could do the reasonable deduction, but go on.
Say, no, you have to take it back there, that the wall is out of bounds. And I'm like, I didn't know that. So I go and ask the tournament director. The tournament director comes over and he says, yeah, the wall's out of bounds. That's the way we've played it in years past. And I'm like, well, in the scorecard, where they have the rules written, it says that water is out of bounds. So I say there's no possible way that could be out of bounds if it only says water out of bounds.
If it's not,
and the tournament director tells me that I'm out of the way that they played it in years past, and I refuse to take the stroke. I was like this, but you can't tell me because of something that you did before. And not tell me in the tournament and then write a rule book and then put in the rule book that the water's out of bounds and not the wall, that I'm out of bounds. What do you guys think about that?
If it says, like you said, water is out of bounds, I give the benefit of the doubt to you because you hit the concrete, which by all definition would be in bounds then. Now, if it said water and concrete, you'd be SOL. But because it just said water, I would give you the benefit of the doubt, regardless of how it was played in the past, because it wasn't specified beforehand.
Right.
That's my thought on it, Terry.
Seeing that it said water is OB. Now, I think of a very similar situation that happened this weekend where someone was hitting the wall of something and then falling into the water, but they weren't breaking the plane. So that's what I thought you were going with is, are you at any point breaking the plane of getting over that concrete wall? But you went somewhere different with it and just said that just water is OB. So as we wait for him to dial up, sorry.
We're dialing him back up right now.
It's so weird how the signal seems to be intermittent.
Yep, I'm gonna I'll cut my video to them and we'll see if that helps out.
Okay. So what I was just saying is, I would say that I agree with Johnny, and I don't know how I'd go about your decision, your actions, but I would agree with Johnny in this sense that if you say water is OB, and
that's what I said,
then I would have to think you're safe. I mean, there is that challenge of when a TD ultimately steps in and says, "Well, my intent was." Well, that's That's unfortunately
There's
really
but there was
awkward.
no intent because it was never clarified with any groups.
Correct. If it wasn't at the players' meeting,
it never came up and he was like, "Hey, in years past, we played this out of bounds. Have fun, peace." Like that.
yeah. If it wasn't defined at the players' meeting, it wasn't defined at the caddy guide or at the T sign. I think you've got a valid argument.
Yeah, I definitely think you do as well. I think you have a valid argument that if it only said water is OB, I would then consider that concrete as inbounds, and played accordingly.
We're definitely having some Skype issues here with the guys, so I'm gonna call them back.
And if this doesn't work, we're going to be cutting him loose pretty soon.
Just to hang up on him, basically.
No. So, yeah, interesting scenario. We've seen some rules situations unfold. We saw a few at Ledgestone. And I've said it before. That's exactly, in a lot of situations, I always say consult the caddy book because whatever's in the caddy book is kind of my official letter of the law.
Sure.
Because you'd hate to say something at the players' meeting
and then have it be contradicted somewhere else.
Exactly. Because a lot of people will, of course, naturally say, but they said at the players' meeting such and such is the case. Well, and then here on the guide or on the T sign, it says something different. That's why it's always easiest if you say, you know what, consult your caddy guide or consult whatever rules that are written in another place. Consult those first.
All right. Well, we're having issues getting.
All right,
back,
so we'll move on. The only other question I was really going to ask ultimately was if they had any tips or details or information that they should give me. I'm going to be coming onto that island myself in just a couple days. We're looking at 30 some hours or so. I'm super excited to get there myself, and I don't know exactly what to expect. I know that the course or the house that they're staying at, I believe, is just a few minutes away. I'd say a short bike ride, but maybe it won't be short. But it's just a half mile or so away from the course is where we'll be put up, and we're super excited to be there and bring you, whether it's live coverage or post-produced coverage, whatever it is. We're going to be in Nantucket this weekend, so excited for that. And then we can start wrapping things up. The other thing that we've kind of referenced and Macbeth referenced it a number of times tonight, or he referenced it on Facebook. We've mentioned it a few times. He is, in fact, going to ESPN tomorrow.
Bristol, Connecticut, I'm assuming.
He is going to check things out, and I had sent him a message just before the podcast, and I said, well, I in full disclosure, I said, are you still going to try and win this weekend? Will it be, with it being a vacation and all? I needed to know for Yuli's picks because I thought we were doing that.
Yeah.
And he said, when do I ever not try?
Makes sense.
And I was going to point out a few of events, but I decided not to. No. And then I said, just checking if you were, mailing this one in or not. And he said, nope, I'm gamed and ready. And then I said, what's the plan with ESPN tomorrow? Can we discuss it tonight? And he said he got invited from someone that we know, that we all know at ESPN.
Oh, it's our contact?
Yep. And he said, I'll get a tour of the facility. And they mentioned in ESPN social media may want to film a bit. He says, you never know, but worst case, I do get to check out a tour of the facility.
Well, that's
so
cool.
There may be some other interaction, some social media stuff as they referenced. I'm not sure Paul knows all the details, but if it's something that works, it would be really cool to have him or obviously any of our top pros who have visited to then maybe get just a little extra exposure. Being in right there at the
go out to the field, throw some bombs, maybe a couple putts. I'm sure he's got a basket with him.
Who knows? Yeah, they may do something cool with him. It may show up on an ESPN feed somewhere. I don't know that it would make any of the shows or anything like that, but to have someone like as decorated as Paul, he's a 4-time world champ. I think we established last week. That to have him there doing, maybe they did some some Twitter or Instagram things with him. That might be kind of cool. So make sure you check out Paul Macbeth and probably Innova and probably the PDGA's feed all on Twitter. And of course, if anything crosses my desk, my non-ESPN desk, I will certainly make sure to retweet it or put it back out there myself. So hope that Paul has a really good time.
I'm sure he will. Even,
now, I know
for the facilities.
We've seen. I think we saw Schusterich and a number of other players. I believe we saw visit the ESPN headquarters a few months ago, probably around the time of the Maple Hill. So it wouldn't be exactly a first, but for any of those guys to get in there and get a tour, so to speak, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Paul has a leg up on them because of his championships, that he maybe has a little bit more pull with some things. So I'd love. Obviously, we'd all love to see something come of that, whether it's a brief piece or anything. You know?
Yeah. So we'll see if something can come of it. Pretty interesting, and naturally, we wish him the best of luck and hope he has fun. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and, dare I say, apologize for Steve Dodge. It's so not like him, especially considering we talked earlier in the day, and he had said that he was planning on being on tonight. I think he was going to even have a giveaway. The Disc Golf Pro Tour has made mention of wanting to be a sponsor here of our podcast. We're going to be putting some information together. If you're interested in sponsoring a podcast, maybe it's a one-time throughout the month, or maybe it's an entire month, or maybe you want to own the podcast naming, so to speak.
We're not renaming the podcast.
What? I think for the right amount of money we would.
Well, yeah, I guess for the right amount of money.
We'd do anything. But, yeah, so look for that. We do appreciate all the businesses, and we hope that tournaments and local clubs and businesses and other events and all feel that would be a good opportunity to spread their name and the word and get themselves out there here on our weekly podcast.
Yeah, so basically if you're interested in being a sponsor, reach out to us. We'll have we've got some opportunities coming up for sponsorship of the podcast,
and we'll put all of those together. And we've had some great ones in the past, and we'll continue to have more.
Correct.
I do want to send a huge thanks out to Keith Murray, letting us know that there are some special limited run discs that are taking place. You can find those, Keith Murray, over at Spinners on the Green. I know they're doing some Memorial Championship fundraisers, and really the main takeaway I had there when he said that to me today is, seriously, the Memorial? Like, yeah, it's
5 months, 6, no, it's a little more than that.
Just about 6 months away,
6 months
less
away.
than 6 months away. So they do have what they're calling the Candyman Jawbreaker Buzz. There's a limited run of the buzzes that they're putting out there. Those are all available, so make sure you check out Spinners on the Green or reach out to Keith Murray himself. But Spinners on the Green on Facebook is definitely the place you want to go. I know they have them. It says there's only 500 Memorial and 1,500 Candyman were made, but they fly just too good to be a collectible. So that's always a struggle, to collect or to throw.
Well, and this is let's talk about the after show.
Okay.
So,
all right, people, I think we can go ahead and wrap up the action here. We do appreciate you guys for tuning in. We're sorry that Steve Dodge will have to rename everything on the podcast that Steve Dodge wasn't here.
Steve Dodge vanishes.
Next week, with some traveling and some other details, we'll have to see. There may or may not be a Tuesday night show, now that I think about it.
With you going to Nantucket and then turning around and
going to
Vermont.
Nantucket and then finding myself over in Vermont, and along with some other travel and plans. I'm not certain that we're going to be back here, so this may or may not have been the last chance before we see the...
Maybe Dana and I will solo it up. Well, Dana might be with you.
Dana may be traveling as well, and we may have our own other struggles.
Maybe I'll have a call-in show.
There you go. Get all your friends to call in with you.
Both of them.
That would be a good idea. So stick around. We're going to have probably a really brief after show here tonight, and talk about some other random things that may or may not pertain to disc golf. Not that I think we ever stay on disc golf topics anyway. No. So for Paul Ulibarri, along with Big Germ, Jeremy Coling, thank you guys for stepping in from Nantucket. For Johnny V and myself, Terry Miller, the disc golf guy. We'll see you guys in the after show, where we'll talk a little disc golf and a lot of other stuff. We'll see you later when you step inside the SmashBoxx. And hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV's podcast, episode 109, After Show.
After show. Last week's after show was all screwed up by me.
Yeah, well, don't screw it up again.
I will try not to.
I'm Terry Miller, who doesn't screw it up, and that's Johnny V, who does screw things up.
Apparently.
We're glad you guys could join us. This is our chance to give you guys some other random ramblings that are outside the world of disc golf. I guess sometimes we lightly,
or sometimes we just talk about behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, so there's that as well. So we're glad you guys could join us. Thank you guys for hanging out for a little bit here as we bring you some after show action.
At the end of the regular show, you talked about the Candyman Jawbreaker buzzes and how great they are and how you would want to throw them. Well, I was just looking at the Skip Ace Fantasy Disc Golf for the public league. I kind of made a statement saying whoever wins, and it's pretty close right now with a couple events left, I'm going to send them a disc.
Okay.
You know, probably a Dimax something or other with a nice stamp on it. And I thought, well, that kind of stinks. Hang it up. So I think in my head I decided I'm going to send them 2.
Oh my gosh.
And I want
How many?
Just 2.
2.
Because I want them to put one in their bag.
Dang.
I want one as a trophy disc, and then an identical one for people to show and say, "Hey, look, I kicked all your butts at I may not be able to play better, but I can pick better than anybody." Because as cool as a trophy disc is, and I have a whole bunch on my wall, I actually have some upstairs too from Dynamic Disc, the signature ones. They're still in the box. I haven't even taken them out yet. I always think it's cool, like, to have a duplicate, so to actually be able to bag a disc so everyone can see it, so you can see it. I love this past weekend for the 102 shots I threw, or 103, whatever it was, pulling out a SmashBoxx disc. I've got the Trespass and the Truth, the Fusions, I believe they are. And I was thinking, I'm like, that's really cool. I can pull this out instead of just hanging it on the wall. So for whoever wins the public fantasy skipace.com disc golf league, I'm going to send them 2 pieces of plastic identical to each other. Hopefully one that they'll hang on the wall and one that they'll go out and show all their friends.
Or they'll just hang them both up and tell everybody they won.
No, it's going to have
2.
a year on it.
They won 2 of them.
It'll have a year. So they'll be like, why do you have 2 2016s? And you're like, how's that good?
I won them both in the consolation bracket and the regular bracket. We also mentioned in the regular show, and I'm not sure they're going to be still available by the time you're listening to this because it comes out so much later, the Candyman and Jawbreaker discs that are found on Spinners on the Green. Keith Murray, amazing event over at the Memorial Championships presented by Discraft. That's going to be taking place in March 2017. So please make sure, if you're interested, to go out and check those out and find Keith and Spinners on the Green on Facebook. So get that out of the way so everybody knows that they can go check them out. They always release really cool discs, usually as a fundraiser for that event, and then once you get to that event, they usually have additional discs that are limited or being released when you get there, and that's something everybody, I think, looks forward to in going to that event, besides the gorgeous weather and the fun golf.
Yeah, all that stuff is good too, I guess.
Yeah. So on the list of things non-disc golf related, what do you got for us, Johnny?
I don't know if I have a lot other than, I talked about my medical history or in the regular podcast. So
yes, everybody was looking for that.
I don't need to discuss that. Other than that, today was my daughter's first day of school, so I was able to drop. Now I've got both kids in more or less full day. We've kind of had them both in full day, whether it's daycare or school. So that's good. I'm done with that. Wash my hands of children now for good.
Yeah,
school's going to take care of them.
Pretty much, yeah. They just raise them full time.
What do I need to do?
So funny enough, I was going to kind of go there the same. I have a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old. The 7-year-old had her first day of school today in Pewaukee Public Schools. So first day in second grade, and then they staggered it. So like they couldn't just give me another day. They staggered it. So my daughter going into 5K is starting tomorrow. So tomorrow will be the first official day. They're both in school full time. And for those of you who aren't parents, it's a glorious time. It's a glorious time. I love my 2 daughters that I never hardly see, but it's a glorious time when they're both going to be in school during the day full time. And it's going to make things a little bit easier because I travel so extensively. So childcare always used to be morning and afternoon and then a late afternoon, kind of getting that all figured out with some in-laws and such. And now there's going to be just one less time frame to deal with. So, and I don't see my travel schedule changing too
Wednesdays
much,
you can sleep in until like 10 or 11 without even having to worry about it.
Yeah, they can pretty much get on the bus, do whatever they want on their own, with or without me there. We
were up north, and I don't necessarily know that if you were in the room or not. I was talking to your wife, and she looked at me. She goes, "What do you do on Wednesday mornings?" And I looked at her and like, "What are you talking about?" I said, "I get up at 6 o'clock, and I know we go until about 2, and I get up at 6. I have to get my kids to school. You know, I drive one, my wife drives the other. And then I usually go to work, and she looks at me like she's like, I'm 4 hours sleep? And I'm like, yeah, like it's once a week. It's not a big deal. And then and she's like, Terry sleeps in usually like till
Sometimes.
it's like 9 or 10 or maybe even 11. I go, well, he's lucky because I don't get to do that. Now, granted, there are times I will drop my daughter off at school, turn around the 1.5 miles, drive myself back to my little house here, lay on the couch for an hour or two, get a quick, nappy poo in, get up, and then go to work. But for the most part, I just get up and go to work, and I suffer through Wednesdays yawning and drinking caffeine, and then come home and usually crash pretty early on Wednesdays.
Yeah, and I'm just going to go on record and say I don't even feel bad that there's maybe one day a week where I get an interrupted 4 to 6 hours of sleep, and if that ends up being on Wednesday, that doesn't, I don't feel bad about that at all.
No, but that's your own choice, though.
Oh, of course, yeah.
We all know.
No, I'm a night owl by choice,
yep,
and
you could go to bed like last night.
Of course I could.
Last night I laid down at 9:30, which is early for me. Normally it's 10:30, but last night I laid down at 9:30, messed around on my phone for a while, was asleep by 10. You, on the other hand, your wife was complaining that sometimes you go to bed about an hour before she gets up. Like you'll go to bed 4 or 5 in the morning and then sleep later into the morning.
Well, and today in particular, or last night, I think it was about 3:30, maybe 4 o'clock. I went to bed, and then I woke up at 7:45 to see my daughter off on her first day of school. So, and I've been up ever since. So, yeah, there's some good stuff. I think one of the conversations that I can actually step into that is non-disc golf related now, and I don't know if I hate to use the term spoiler. One of the things, I was doing some data mining. I don't know if I was data mining. I wasn't data mining. I was data sorting last night, moving some files around, trying to decide what I could pull off my hard drive and put onto an external drive because I'm done editing, whatever, all those types of things. And then I also went for a walk. I think I started my walk around midnight, and I ended up walking around until about 2:30. But one of the things that I did before all of that, while I was shifting files around and getting caught up on emails, is with one eye, I started to watch Stranger Things. Yeah, it was in the old Netflix, and obviously I've heard so many people talk about it, and normally just people talking about it doesn't get me to get into any particular series, because if I look at the series and I read it, it doesn't do anything for me. I won't force myself to it, but I was like, all right, I'm going to take a chance on this.
And again, I don't necessarily know if you like it.
I'll go as far as saying that as of right now,
how far in are you?
I got 2, because everybody then wants to say, well, did you binge watch it? I got 2. I watched 1. Again, I was literally watching files move around on my computer and trying not to eat up too much RAM and other things on my computer. And I was like, all right, I've got a little bit of time. This was before my walk. I will watch another one. And there was an urge, of course, okay, I could skip this or skip that, and I could put in, watch another one. And I didn't. And I don't know when I'll get back to it. That's one of the problems.
I was going to say,
because my time is so incredibly crunched.
If you had time, would you go back? Or is it?
I will. No. Next time I
right.
have time, I will go back. I'm certainly intrigued. But I'm just 2 episodes in. No, Sean Babel, I didn't go out and play Pokemon. I don't think I have the room on my phone to download yet another app. That's honestly like a legitimate problem of mine, because I just have too much stuff. But
that's why tomorrow you should get the iPhone 7.
Yeah, no, So yeah, I'm 2 episodes in.
Okay,
did I see? Is there only 6?
8.
Just, 8 to start.
There's 8 to start, and the next season there's going to be 9 or 10. I'll say I think I know you. And
I like it. I like the first 2 so far.
I know you pretty well. I wasn't sure if you would enjoy it, because it's part sci-fi, it's part slightly, I'm not going to say horror, because it's not gory at all. No, not at all. It's very little gore in it. It's more a little more psychological thriller. But I didn't know if there's a monster in it, and I didn't know if you dig that at all. Like, it's not your style of movie that I would pick.
I haven't seen the monster yet. I think he's been he or she. I don't want to sound being bigot here. I believe there's one that scurries about.
Yeah.
But
So
no, you're right. It's not typically something that I enjoy, but I feel like
it's very and I'll say this though, the one thing it would pull you in, because there's one thing I know about you, it's nostalgic, and that will pull you in particularly.
correct. The whole 80s setting and and paying attention to the car and the jeans and the music they're playing, and obviously for the setting that it's in. And I'm nostalgic, I'd say, into the 80s or 90s. Prior to that, I wouldn't have any draw to it. It thus far, and maybe this is a horrible comparison or analogy, just 2 episodes in, thus far it reminds me, I'd almost go as far as saying like an E.T.
Yes, it's, if you take, when you're done, just do a quick Google search when you're done watching it. If you ever get done, do a quick Google search for like Stranger Things Easter eggs, and it's going to point out like every little homage that you will find in there. It reminds you of E.T. because the kids are all riding a bike and one's got a hoodie on.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of oh my God, I'm drawing away. I mean, it's a little bit
up
of
to the shed in the back.
It's a little bit of Stand By Me. Yeah, it's just like the shed in the back. There's literally, it's almost scene for scene is E.T. with the stars, and like it's a little bit of Stand By Me. It's a little bit of kind of got it creepiness of like a Gremlins.
Sure.
It's a very much a Stephen King meets Steven Spielberg. Like that's how this is set up, and I loved it. I really, really loved it. I thought it was very good.
Well,
So
like I said, I'm through just the first 2 episodes. Winona Ryder, I mean, she was kind of
a little. I'll say this, and Steve and I both agreed on this. Slight bit overacting on her part, I think.
Okay.
And granted, I as I said, maybe I'll forgive that, because how would you act if your kid vanished?
Yeah, sure.
Like literally, one of your children vanished, and suddenly you're already a hair off, and now you're, So as much as I think she overacted a bit, I'll forgive her on that.
Yeah, it would be, and that even crossed my mind too. That's exactly what I was thinking last night. Is like, okay, how would I watch this today versus 10 years ago before I had kids? Some of those thoughts unfortunately ran through my mind as well. It's pretty crazy. So that's something that and the one thing I worry about is I think I've already missed some tidbits or maybe some details or specifics.
No.
Well, I'll say that because I'm only watching it with one eye. I'm trying to do other things.
You're not missing much.
Okay.
It's not like I'll say this. It's not where you have to really pay attention. Like if you're really paying attention, you might catch or miss some of the other homages to other movies. Like, oh yeah, that kind of reminds me of Aliens, or that reminds me of this 80s movie. But you're not going to miss anything with the story. The story is pretty straightforward. So you're not going to be missing clues as to what's really happening if you're not completely focused on it.
Well, it's caught my attention briefly. We'll see how much longer. I'll say this: I'm 2 episodes in out of what you're saying is 8 for this first season, and I'm thoroughly intrigued. And I definitely wouldn't set it aside and be like, I don't care if I never pick that up again. I'll be coming back just to watch, definitely be coming back for a little bit more. So that's what I can say about that.
Sure.
Isn't that a segment somewhere? All I can say about that, or what I can say? I don't know. I think that's a segment on some successful show somewhere. Possibly.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Like I said,
it sounds like I'm reading a little bit off the board. This is, of course, the YouTube board where we always talk about. We follow along a little bit more closely on the YouTube board as opposed to one of the streams on Facebook. And someone had said something about the PDGA website seems to have some kind of issue, or at least Brian Usher, who ran an event this weekend at Solitude, said he can't explain it. And he doesn't know if something is just displayed error. So I guess I should clarify. I don't know if he's saying that there was a mix-up with his particular event or with the PDGA site in general. I'm guessing it was probably a mix-up with his particular event.
It could be. I know the PDGA site had some issues a couple weeks ago, but I haven't heard of anything since. So
there's the line, and that's the rest of the story by Paul Harvey. All right, so I was kind of close with something.
Trevor Hook wants us to discuss the real news of the week: the Swiffleston breakup Taylor Swift and
Oh my gosh, I
Hiddleston
know.
breaking up.
I don't think you guys know how hard that really hits me.
Can you name one movie Tom Hiddleston's in?
No, I don't even know who you're talking about.
Okay.
Wait, that's not fair. That's not fair. Because I don't want to sound like I'm anti-pop culture.
I know you're not.
I'm guilty of the pop culture.
Of course.
But the name doesn't ring enough of a bell. However, a Google search may. So the question is, what do I Google search?
What are you trying to find out? Like what movie he's been in? Because you don't know what he even looks like.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to think. Is if I'm going to recognize
You're not.
the person.
You might recognize him. Hold on. I'm going to bring it up for Terry here.
Bring it up for me. And while he does that, I'm going to give a little inside scoop on the Disc Golf Pro Tour, along with the Disc Golf.
All right, so here
National Tour.
we have moved Tom Hiddleston over to the screen.
I don't know that this is appropriate.
Last time I checked, I have Safe Search turned on, Terry. It's
There
not
you
an
go.
incognito window.
Okay, so Taylor Swift was dating this ass clown. No, I'm just kidding.
Wow.
No, I'm just kidding. Okay.
Yeah.
So I can't name a movie. I'm not a big movie. I know enough about movies, but not a buff. So I can't name a movie.
He was being pursued. My understanding was for James Bond. He's an
Okay.
English actor. His big role, Loki, which you would not know from the Marvel universe, from Thor. That is really. I mean, he was in other things, but this was.
And he's barely recognizable there compared to.
I mean, he's got the long.
look.
He's got the wig, the long black hair.
Oh, that's a wig. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. See, I wouldn't even put two and two together. That was him because I didn't watch Thor.
I mean, I'm sure. I know he's been in other things, but that was really his big. Marvel was a big breakout role for him.
Okay, so you're saying they're on the outs?
They're broken up.
Oh my
apparently.
gosh, T Swift.
So yeah.
No. Okay. So no, unfortunately,
Chris God wants us to make it stop.
there's a lot of other things that I feel like I could actually interject on, and that's not one of them.
I don't know.
That's
I know Marvel movies.
Yeah, that's not one that I could interject on. Don't ever say we don't talk about topics brought up in chat. Exactly. So here's what I can say about the national tour.
All right.
Well, this is a big secret, so don't tell anybody. All I can say is it looks to be 6 events next year.
Okay. 6 events.
PDGA has
the national tour. I'll tell you
this
one.
is the PDGA National Tour.
I know Greater Milwaukee Open isn't one.
No, my B tier is not. So the PDGA National Tour is finalizing the schedule. I've been sworn to secrecy about not letting it out and the actual individual events. We're going to see a little bit of a shakeup, I can say that much. And it looks like it's 6 events. And that's, I think, right in line with exactly what we had this year. We need to have a PDGA rep, whether it's Brian Graham or Marty Gregoire or whomever, or Michael Downs or Big Dog. And state, I'd be curious to know if 6 events is just a number they're trying to hit, or if that's just what is happenstance.
I bet you that's a number that's comfy for them.
Okay.
Like, it's not too many where you need to constantly have your guys out all around throughout the whole summer. But it's enough to make a quote-unquote tour. Like
Kevin McCoy's asking where I got this info. But that's what I'm going to say.
We are privy to this information strictly because we need to look at options for media.
And that's as far as I'm going to go. But the national tour, that's what it's looking like. I know they're working on it. I know they're going to try and get it announced and released. Maybe they'll save it for us to help talk about it. Probably not. But if they did, we'd be glad to be the ones to reveal the schedule. That'd be a good Tuesday night reveal.
Yeah.
And on the Disc Golf Pro Tour side of things, which is also under, did you say lock and key? Loki? Lock key? No.
Lock and Key.
Okay.
One of my recommendations a couple of years ago, the Lock and Key comic series by Stephen King's son.
Okay.
Phenomenal.
Good. The Pro Tour is definitely expanding.
Yep.
They're adding a number of events. And again, I can't share any of the dates, but I'm going to tell you they're expanding and they're adding events. And I know there's going to be some
GMO.
Nope, still not the Greater Milwaukee Open, my event. But there will be some collaboration in terms of when these events are going to be announced and when they're going to be released to the world. So the American Tour, I have reached out to them. Just kidding, I didn't. But I would love for them to have. Now here's one of the questions, and I don't want to give them too much airtime, but if Salient has in fact, as all accounts have shown online, if Salient has in fact gone bankrupt, I'm guessing that the American Tour in itself was a totally separate legal entity.
Sure.
If they were smart, they would have been, and I think they did. So if American Disc Golf Tour, comma LLC exists, that could be completely separate and independent of anything with Salient. It could be. I don't know if anyone can verify that or not, but
it probably is. But it's my guess is that we won't see anything regardless of what happens.
yeah, I'm guessing as well. I see there's some chatter as to Brian Graham on another. There's another podcast that exists.
I heard there's one other disc golf podcast. I forget the name of them. Forget the name of it. It's no one's. If you're not doing your podcast live,
then you're not even doing it.
Then why even bother?
Because then it's old news.
Yeah, by the time it gets released tomorrow, it's old news. If you're not getting it Tuesday night, you might as well not be getting it.
No.
Wednesday morning?
Who's got time for that?
Who's got time for Wednesday morning?
Sean says, I have a good question. What is the rumor going around now? I don't know what rumor. I don't know of any rumors.
Someone asked about USDGC plans. And to be honest, we don't know. We're not privy to anything.
USDGC.
All I know, I talked to Jamie Thomas a little bit, and I don't believe when we talked to UC, I don't believe they have any live plans, but I don't know. They could be just like they've been doing for the past couple events. You could have Avery out there doing the Facebook Live stuff because we know the signal is really good out there. So my guess is that you're going to see that with their normal post-round stuff. But I'll be honest, I don't know really. I have no insider details. Zero. That's really just an educated guess based on their other events. So
I have a few insider details that I can't share, but they kind of echo a little bit of what Johnny is saying. I know that UC, of course, being part of the World Tour and then kind of overseeing so much of the media strategy at all of the World Tour events, we can tell you that as of right now, in no small or large measure, SmashBoxx has not been in any way, shape, or form contracted or retained, maybe that's a good word too, or anything of that nature in terms of any live services for the event.
Nope.
They very much, especially as we saw with the live broadcast on the national television, and we talked about that last week in terms of cost. I think they very much feel like if they want to do a broadcast, they want it done incredibly well with all the bells and whistles so that it's a nearly perfect broadcast and then it's held to, we'll say, TV broadcast quality standards. However, we're not necessarily that entity, and that to get to that level, you're talking about spending 30, 40, 50, 100 grand, whatever the number is, considerably more than what they're used to paying.
Yep.
So I feel like, I think a term that was used that I could share is stuck between plateaus, as having these people want the live broadcast, but in order to get a really good live broadcast, you're talking about spending an exorbitant amount of money. And is the payoff, is the ROI, is that all worth it?
I think what UC has said and even sees is that the broadcasts that we do don't bring in a ton of new viewers. You're not hitting.
Yes. They feel like we're advertising. We're bringing it to our core golfers.
We're bringing it to the core golfers. There are the occasional new viewers. We've seen them pop up here and there. I've chatted with them on the board. People jump in and say, "Hey, what's this?" Some people laugh at it. Some people leave. Some people think, "Oh, this is kind of cool. I have one of these at my local park." Whatever. So there's the level that we're able to have, and then there's that upper echelon level where they're hopefully looking to expand and bring it into new markets, and that's just not where we're at yet, as far as I know. So
I can understand. So we can certainly understand that.
I mean, there's no hard feelings.
And
anything
I think that's where disc golf is in a lot of ways. Right now, you can advertise and you can promote disc golf to other disc golfers. It's a matter of how do we break out of that small constraint, and how do we get to the bigger masses? And if we're not getting to the bigger masses and we're just kind of constantly showing disc golf to our peers, our hardcore fan base, then is that money being well spent or not? Because if we're not growing in terms of the viewership and it's the same viewers over and over again, I can see it's hard for any tournament or any tour or any individual or any company to continue to spend money and give it to us, for instance. Or
I like it when people spend money on us.
I'm just saying, to give it to us, we can certainly understand that. So, who knows how much, how if we can grow and expand into becoming that. Someone said, you guys do great, and I foresee you producing a high dollar show someday. Maybe or maybe not. The question is, do we take that leap of faith? Because I don't want to go out and spend some crazy amount of money to try and put on a show and then possibly still have limited viewership. And I think that's where the American tour, that was the bet they were hedging. That's what they wanted to gamble on.
Yeah.
Let's go out and spend a ton of money. Let's finally get ourselves on ESPN, and let's see if anything hits big from it. And it doesn't seem like that. Now, they had some things that were holding them back maybe from the get-go, but I know that's what they were going out and putting their bets on. They bet it all on black or red or whatever for that.
Wesley Snipes.
Yeah, bet on black, I know, but I think they bet it all. They bet the house, and didn't seem to be a big payoff.
Yeah.
Someone asked when we're going to have UC on the show.
We had UC on last year at USCGC when he announced the World Tour.
He announced the World Tour, and then literally almost minutes later, we were back at the in the media trailer, and that's where we brought him on the show, and I asked him some more questions to follow up to it. It was obviously it was the biggest news anywhere at the time.
Chris Cobb asks, what's the tipping point? That's a great question. I don't know. We're not there yet. I mean, figure we need to, if we want to expand what we're doing, we need to spend money, and we need to, as I've said 1,000 times, I'd love a million viewers, but I don't care if we get a million viewers. If we had 5,000 consistent viewers every broadcast and tournaments were willing to pay for a high quality broadcast, a $20, $30, $40, $50,000 broadcast that we could provide, I'd be fine with that. But we're not there. Tournaments aren't there. Sponsors aren't there yet. We're working our way up. We're slowly purchasing new equipment. We're slowly improving their quality of our broadcasts. We're looking at we're expanding in the different places that we're broadcasting in. This year we expanded to Facebook so we can push it to there, help bring in viewers. It's different, and it expands every time. I don't know I keep thinking, like, what are we going to do next year? What can we do to make us that much better? Like, is it
better or visible?
Both. Like,
oh wow, yeah, you're blowing my
both.
mind.
So,
blowing my mind.
Better and visible. Like, what would help us? What would help us become more visible? Would it be paying for a commercial somewhere on some advertising station, on some other podcast? Would it be, I've debated personally. I watch other podcasts, not disc golf related, but media related, things like streaming media and how to do this. And they're always asking for guests. And I thought I could get on and be a guest and just talk about what we do. Like, they don't care about disc golf. They care about how do we make our stuff happen, and just that maybe would help expand a little bit here and there. Or, do we create something Terry and I have talked about, do we create a unique channel? We have our YouTube channel, but do we create like a Roku channel or something where you can just go on and click, maybe it runs 24 hours a day, and maybe it just, you go to it and you say, oh, I want to watch the Brent Hambrick from 2016, and here are the 3 rounds. Click, and you sit back on your couch and just watch. The problem is you can do that now with Chromecast. If if you want to click and view, you hit our website and you scroll through and you say, oh, that's what I want to watch. So I don't know what's going to make us more visible or what's going to make us more quality, better, make us better quality.
More EDM and techno is what Eagle McMahon, who's
only,
on the board.
Only if Eagle's dancing. If we can get some EDM and Tecmo Bowl or techno, I'm there if Eagle dances.
Wow, that sounds like one way to go about things. It's interesting because we have this dedicated group of followers, these people that watch, in and out, and there's been this arbitrary ceiling of approximately 5,000 people, and we see our numbers and we see the memorial or we see any given event, and as it continues to grow for these events, or the event and the competition heats up, there's still always this magic 5,000 viewer number.
Yep. Like it depends on the event, but we tend for the more major events, we see anywhere from 4,000, 5,000. Worlds, we saw 6,600 viewers at the peak of the finals. But most of the time we were hovering amongst all the different channels between right around 4,000, 4 to 5,000. So that seems to be like our like a magic number. Like that's what we get right now is 4 to 5,000 viewers, and that's great. And I love every one of our viewers.
No, you don't love everyone.
I love every one of them in some special
way. I can name
way.
a few you don't.
In some special way. Some of them I'd love them to go away. Not most of you though. I like all of you guys.
Mm-hmm.
So. I mean, how do we get to 10,000?
10, 20.
Like,
why is 5,000 this? 5,000 right now is an arbitrary number where we happen to rest on, or have this imaginary line at, and should we be mad every event that we're not getting to 18,000 to 22,000, whatever that magic number is? It's just it's interesting. It's and how to get there, what we need to do. I don't want to say is it our job. Of course, it's always our job to grow and to expand.
Nick Anderson says ads.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I mean those aren't out of the question. Question is where, who we targeting, what platform are we using, and will that draw more people in? Yeah. Will ads for disc golf coverage draw in more people? Because honestly, you tell somebody, and I love them to death, but you tell the Memorial's happening, or the USDGC, or the Brent Hambrick, and that pops up on your Facebook, live disc golf at the Brent Hambrick, that means nothing to 99.9% of all disc golfers on the planet. That means nothing to them.
And we are looking, and I do have a list or a reminder that I think we're going to work on next year will be basically an mailer out that'll say, hey, don't forget this weekend is this broadcast. I think that's one of the places that we're lacking. Maybe we can shove it at people more rather than have more passive where they have to go and read it like it pops up on their feed, actually sending it to their email, a mailing list basically. I'm going to work on that over the summer, or over the winter, excuse me. So yeah.
And with that, there may come additional advertising opportunities for people to get involved with us. Obviously, the more people that we have advertising with us, the more we hope that they're going to go ahead and spread the word. When a Discraft gets on board and says, hey, we're helping out, we're a proud sponsor of the broadcast, hopefully then Discraft and all of the channels that they spit out to and have the reach to are also then going to be tuning in. And then, from there we can have other things like giveaways and contests and whatever. But I think our advertisers themselves, the people that are paying us, the few that we do get on board that pay us, I think they'll continue to grow and expand our viewer base as well. So it's all something we just have to continue to work on.
Yeah, exactly. Someone asked about my mic. The funny thing about my mic is I've got this really nice mic stand that pinches onto this desk. The problem is the desk is made out of plastic. And so every time I tighten it down, it squeezes the desk. And then I sit and wiggle and move the mic when I move it back and forth. It eventually becomes loose. And like last week, it just fell over. Terry's mic pinches on as well, but it's got a big fat wide base. So I might have to get one of those wider bases because the one that comes
That's what I roll with is a wider base.
Yeah, you've got a wider base. So that's why I'm using the Shure mic instead of the Heil. But I'll get it fixed up, or we just need an actual hard table. I'd love to get a real table in here, but this one is cheap and it's Terry's and it works out well for us.
Yeah, Chris says upgrade the desk. This isn't a desk, Chris. This is a
Folding table.
folding table of mine, which my disc golf business has been void of, and Johnny V whines about, even though it's been sitting in his basement since day one.
It has. And you've needed it so much.
I'm just saying, when you provide another table, then you can talk about the quality of said table.
I'm not complaining about quality of table. I'm
I
saying
think
that
you have.
I'm saying that the table does not work with the mic stand. The table itself is
I think you called
fine.
it cheap earlier.
I
Rewind
might
the
have.
tape. Rewind the tape.
I might have
tape.
called it
There's
cheap.
tape.
It was probably a cheap table.
It's a
It's a s-
perfectly fine industry standard plastic table.
does it
that
not
just
make
happens
it
to
cheap?
not fit your need?
Correct, but does that not make it cheap?
It's not. No, it's not a cheap table.
Define cheap compared to other tables.
This is not a cheap table.
Uh,
Anyway,
Disc Golf Nerd, maybe next year. Milwaukee's getting an IKEA up the road from me, about 3 to 4 miles, I believe it should be. So when that happens, I'll
get a new house first, and then we'll put it in that.
with all that Smashbox money.
Yes, because we're getting rich.
Bam!
Yes, a GoFundMe page for all the things that we don't do GoFundMes for, but we should do one for a table, for like a
Don't start on the
$200 desk or something like that. No, we'd love a table sponsor. Andrew Rich, why don't you build us a table? You're a huge Smashy. You make some of the most amazing woodwork. Maybe you or Ben Vosper send us like this table that would cost somebody else like $1,000 because it's amazing, but you want to sponsor us with it.
So here's a thought I've had.
Uh-oh.
And I've discussed this with you, and maybe it's nothing.
That doesn't mean it's appropriate for the year.
That's very true. And maybe I'm going to say it anyway, but maybe it's something I shouldn't be sharing. We've discussed and talked about having I wouldn't call them fundraiser events, but having events with top pros and having them pay to watch. Something along the lines of, the GMC is the GMC is happening Thursday through Sunday. We talk to the players on Tuesday and say, hey guys, you guys want to do a round? It's going to be, we're going to give them almost whatever is made on the broadcast. So it's a pay to watch. You have to pay like
a pay-per-view model.
Pay-per-view model, like $1.99 or something, or $2.99, $20.99, and they are basically playing for that money. So people can tune in then, they can tune in later to watch, but it is a pay-per-view model. I personally never want to go to a pay-per-view model for our normal tournaments. For any event that we broadcast, it should be free, it should be advertiser sponsored. But I kind of want to have like a separate, it would still be a Smashbox, maybe like Smashbox events or something crazy. A special round where these players are more or less playing for the money that you are tuning into view. So you're kind of supporting the player, and maybe Smashbox takes a small, like a 10% portion off the top, as a fee to cover our data costs or whatever. Or we cover our costs and then say, the rest goes to the players or however, or maybe they get all the money from whoever's watching live and then residuals we keep. I don't know. There's all sorts of different ways we can work it. And maybe we make my thought was, I think it'd be kind of cool to make a small series out of that. Have 4 events or 5 events, have 4 of them happen throughout the year, and then the 5th one happen like in October, right before USDGC or something, and say, hey guys, we got you all here. You are the 4 winners. Let's go out and have a great kick-ass round or something. Or maybe make it a doubles event. Have the women involved or something along those lines. Those are all ideas that we have, to not necessarily put money in our pockets, but to more expand the sport and the viewership. So,
yeah, and of course, I feel like, we have 100 and some people watching live this very minute. I feel like 50, 40, 30% of those that are watching live right now would say, yeah, I'm on board. $2.99, $3.99, $5.99. I feel like it'd be like a lot of things, just like a course. You have 10% of the people using the course do 90% of the work.
Sure.
And I worry that that's what would happen with us. We'd have our really passionate Smashies. We'd have the people that really love disc golf, the disc golf nerds in a generic sense. the disc golf nerds like us that would be like,
Yeah.
heck yeah, I'd pay for that in a heartbeat. You know, a few people immediately said, yeah, I'll pay, and we love that. The problem is that still just ultimately going to turn into a really tiny minority?
Maybe.
And when it's all said and done, at $2.99 for this really awesome round and this great coverage, are they going to be playing for $164?
Maybe, but and it maybe it's something that we need to work with the pros. We say, hey, this is what we're going to try, and if it fails, because Chris Cobb says, that may not work. Look at discgolfplanet.tv.
Sure.
Like they tried that. Sure, they did. They tried that 8 years ago. Landscapes change, things change, and here's exactly how I would do it. You'd charge $2.99 or even $1.99 to watch it live. At that point, then it's edited down after it's done. Maybe you throw a commercial in there, but I doubt it. And then after that, you charge $2.99 for it. You want to watch it after the fact? You pay an extra $1 for it.
What?
The edited 30-minute or 40-minute version. And it would be, I'll say this, we would let the pros know it would be a more casual round. We would talk to them during the round. We would do all the things that we're not supposed to do during the tournament. We maybe have some smack talk going on. We maybe have some doubles. Maybe we have Terry pick out a disc out of their bag and or we do that. Maybe we take viewer input. We kind of roll that way, and I think that would I still, as much as everyone says, maybe you only get 100 people, maybe, but I want to try it. Maybe we eat the cost for an event we're already going to be at, so travel's covered, and we're literally just paying for hopefully time and data. Terry's time, cameraman time, my time, and some data costs. It to me, it's one of those things that like it's been done, but I haven't done it, and I feel like I'm leaving something out on the table if I don't do it. So,
after some of your topic or some of your insight to that, I was trying to think of the right word I want to go with. We'll go with insight. Dan Harbeck says he's a lifetime member of Disc Golf Planet TV. Yep, Dan, so are we. I think both Johnny V and I are lifetime members, so that should never wear out for our lifetimes, which is pretty sweet. Chris Cobb says interesting for skins. Chris Booker, I liked his point, his or her, said a paywall would block all new people and bleed the current core members.
Well,
I'll go ahead and let me address the term bleed. Bleed at $2. I think the bleeding is pretty minimal at that point. I think I've bled more than $2 worth out of my leg this year.
And here's what I'll say. That's the argument for UFC. They
Sure.
charge $50, $70, $100 to watch 8 fights, and
by the next morning you could watch literally every one of
all
those
of them on YouTube
for free.
for basically free, legally or not.
Yeah.
And would you say you're bleeding the UFC fans? No, you're asking the fans if this is what you want to see, you pay for it. I've got no problem with that because, like I said, the normal events, I don't ever want to charge for those. Like, and I might be stupid saying that now, and in 5 years someone's going to come back and kick me when we are for some reason. But in my head, I don't want to charge for those. I don't want anyone to have to pay to see the memorial or pay to have to see Brent Hambrick or whatever. But these would be special events, so to speak, in my head at least. So, it doesn't have to be straight up. It could be skins. It could be anything.
Yeah, there's certainly a number of formats that could be a lot of fun for people to enjoy. I don't
ripped
think
cards.
we wouldn't have a challenge coming up with a format for them that I think people would like. I think a lot of people have talked about, and I guess, Chris, and I wasn't picking on you, I was thinking of an analogy to the pay-to-play model, where a lot of people are like, thinking, well, we're going to pay to go play this course, and we're the ones that respect it, or we're the paying citizens, and it's going to keep some people out. Yeah, in that case, you were fine with that. We're totally good. If that means $2 is going to scare off someone at a pay-to-play course, now clearly we're trying to bring in as many people to watch this as possible, so the analogy doesn't line up exactly, but where it does line up is when someone says, why are we charging the good people that respect the course? Why are they being charged? And I think that's where I kind of see a similarity here. but like Johnny said, pay to play is, or pay to view, pay-per-view, isn't exactly a new concept.
No, and again, no one's forcing you. If we got
Correct, you just miss out on it.
if we got 100 people at $2,
that would suck.
that it would suck. It would be $200, and we would say, hey, maybe that's not the right method. Maybe it wasn't the right format. Maybe it wasn't the right
People.
course. Maybe it wasn't the right people. You know. But if I told you, and I keep thinking back to, God, I'm old, 10, 15 years ago, when prime time, you had Tiger Woods against, was it Davis?
Or Sergio. It was
I mean,
Tiger and Sergio, like battle at Bighorn.
But whatever. It was like nighttime golf. They had it
Yeah.
under the lights. Like, I mean, that was on just regular TV. But imagine something like that for Ricky versus Paul.
Sure.
You know, at
some exhibition matchup.
at some exhibition where guess what? It doesn't count to your player rating. It doesn't count towards any sort of ratings. But you two literally battle it out. Or we put Ricky and Paul with Cat and Paige, and we flip coins to see who's partners, who gets who as a partner. Something along. Are you telling me you would not, and maybe you wouldn't want to pay $2 to $3 to watch these two guys go big when there's virtually no stakes? Like they're not going for a true title. So what's to stop them from running at that 50 to 80 to 100? Not that anything stops Ricky, running at those putts, or playing alternate shot with the women, and we could film and do the mixed doubles, but even if you're not talking, even if you're talking skins or anything, I just think like get those two guys, or get any two guys, get Yuli versus Coling.
Yeah, especially after this weekend.
Yeah,
when they're roommates and they hate each other.
And maybe make it a bike riding contest.
Yeah, winner's got to ride off in the sunset on a bike, and so if it's Coling, he just wobbles
you see
away.
him back and forth in the sunset. That's what I think, and I would love to see. And we know Paul well enough where if we could arrange it with him, I think he would do it. And I think Ricky's down for whatever. Ricky's pretty cool, but again, these are things I think of like ways for us to expand the sport, maybe get the word out, help them, help us. Not that those two need any help particularly, but I think of cool ways we can differentiate ourselves. So
well, and Mike Milne asked out on the board if we're working on an annual contract with
Sexton
Disc
could
Golf.
commentate.
With Disc Golf Pro Tour for 2017, and we are in talks with both the National Tour as well as the Disc Golf Pro Tour. Both have expressed interest in having conversations with us. I felt like just closing up SmashBoxx's doors and calling it a career. We could go out on top. No? Okay. Well, maybe we should just keep ourselves to podcasting. Maybe that's what we should do. But no, we're in talks, and anything as Paige
anything
would
can
say,
happen in 2017.
Yeah, to use a Paige Pierce line. Yeah, good stuff. So yeah, those are some, and Johnny's not quite the genius you guys are maybe throwing out there.
No.
And I only say that because this also, one could say, stems from the borrowed idea from Steve and Bombarico at Legacy in terms of just various battles. I mean, taking and even that could.
Oh, I never even thought about that. But
even that could be brought back to Billy Crump and using the Clash series, where he's taking all these concepts are taking some of our sport's best players, pitting them against each other in a different, more relaxed atmosphere, and then putting it out there for public consumption. I mean, at the core of it, that's what all of those are. We're looking to do it live and make it as exciting as possible, but at the core of it, that's essentially what this is exactly doing.
Yeah.
We've done a few of those with the battles, namely the battle out at Blue Lake was probably our most successful one, and again, before that, Crump was kind of doing the same thing, grabbing great players, bringing them to a course, coming up with a goofy or unique is maybe a better word, a unique.
And you don't hear me say this very often. Billy, unfortunately, was maybe a little ahead of his time.
Quite possibly.
Because the costs it takes to produce DVDs and such like that, and then get them out, and then what you have to charge for them. He was probably making as much profit on one DVD as what we would make asking the $2.99. Like, I don't know for sure, but just in general, think about that without all that extra, and it would be instantaneous for us. So, as opposed to the old Clash DVDs, which It took months.
Months to edit together. Yeah, and Dynamic also had their battles, which I know Bobby Brown has, kind of briefly retouched on that topic. So, excuse me. There's a lot of different ways to look at it, and it's just a matter of us being in the right position to possibly do it along with another event. There's some ideas out there, and it's interesting to see even when would be the most successful. Because let's say we wanted to, on season, off season, if we were in California and doing this at noon California time, and so starting ultimately 3 o'clock on the East Coast, would a 2 or a 3 hour round, would people all be tuned in for that? That would be an interesting idea. Yeah, there's just a lot of questions, and this has been thought about on a number of different levels, so we'll see if anything ever comes of it. Do we have any key stakeholders in alliance with Ultimate? Seems like they're getting some greater exposure at the time. They need to start name-dropping the sports. Ultimate has, obviously, there are multiple professional leagues. We've got Innova, who works with Ultimate, and then even prior to them has always been Discraft, who's always worked with Ultimate.
Yep.
It's just an entirely different beast. Just an entirely different beast.
Yeah, and I have I've chatted with the guy who does their streaming, so I'm in a little bit of communication with him. I haven't talked with him in like a month or two, but I do step up every once in a while and say, hey, how's your broadcasts going? Here's ours are coming up and this and that. So, but I think it would be kind of cool to do a little cross promotion with that. So,
okay, so anything's possible. Anyway, so we got anything else that we need to address here for tonight?
I don't know, but Paul Roberts says if we ever want to get serious about HD, he's got 30,000 feet of military grade fiber. And we're not talking like serial fiber. We're talking like fiber cables.
Oh, what are we going to do with that?
I don't know. We'd need an entire truck just for 30,000 feet of fiber cable.
If you could go to the courses and pre-wire every course before we go there, that'd help, right?
That would help. I mean, that's...
All right, Paul, get on it.
Everyone asks, like, how come we don't get a satellite truck? And we've discussed this before, because a satellite truck does us no good when you still have to wire everything back to the truck. So you still have to run that cable out to all the different spots. So right now, 4G is our best bet. So Disc Golf Nurse says he's excited for the DD Aviator. Yeah, I am too. I'd like to pick one up. That's their new ultimate style Frisbee. Their lid, as they were calling it.
He says it got delayed. They weren't happy with the first batch.
Oh.
I'm going to go out on a limb here. How much can our ultimate disc vary? And I don't know if that's a huge credit to Discraft or if I'm being just short-sighted, but how much can our ultimate discs all truly vary? I mean, they're all going to be 175 grams, I believe, unless you're trying to break into a market and then help reinvent the market.
Sure.
But I feel like all of them, I don't know. I say that.
Robert says it's slightly more overstable than ultimate discs. So maybe they're not trying to break into the ultimate market. Maybe they just want a nice flying lid, and they see an advancement for that. Maybe they're not. I mean, maybe they are trying to get into the ultimate market eventually, but who knows?
It says they talked about it on DJam, whatever that is.
I think it's DGAM.
DGAM? Yeah, jam would be with a J, but DGAM? Oh, DGAM. DGAM? Oh, so they talk about it on DGAM.
That must be like a radio station.
A morning one.
Morning radio station.
DGAM. So it's a morning radio station. Huh.
No. I'm looking forward to getting a hold of one because I want to, it's always fun to play with it, to play with those lids and have them. I've got one of my favorite flying discs, so to speak, that I have is the crocheted one that people were selling at Worlds years ago because you can throw it in the house. I'm not worried about breaking lamps or anything. I'll take it and I whip it my kid as hard as he can from almost guts, and I make him do the same because I think it builds up a decent strength in his arm. It's a lighter disc, so it's a fun thing just to throw around the front yard. I don't have to worry about knocking the neighbor kid out like I did with the regular disc.
You're such a bully.
I know.
Oh, Duck Goose AM. It's a morning hunting show. That makes a lot more sense. I would think they would be hunting for birdies if it was golf related, but maybe not. It's a morning hunting. Well, they didn't say morning. Yeah, okay. It's very interesting. Clash Royal with B-Mac asks, honest answer, even if it were to hurt you all, would you like to see disc golf broadcasting on major networks? Or would you rather stay on the smaller markets like ourselves? Spin TV, Jomez, etc. I am a firm believer in that we or me and Johnny or us together or us individually, if we're stepping stones to disc golf mainstream and bigger and better, it is what it is, and that means we didn't do something right or an opportunity didn't cross our desk, but or maybe we did something too right, and so be it. If somebody came along and was putting out phenomenal disc golf coverage, somehow better than ours, but no, if they were putting out phenomenal coverage and it was in the world of broadcasting and everything, I, as a fan of the game and someone who promotes the game and enjoys the game, I would first be a tad skeptical and say, okay, how much better are they really? Because we've heard big claims. We've heard huge claims from other companies and from other broadcasting networks, and broadcasting the best live disc golf, I think, is what the Pro Tour told us they were going to do. And we've heard big claims from other companies saying that they're going to be the best, and the American Tour said we weren't going to watch people walk down the fairway. Well, except for our first hole we broadcast and every hole after that we broadcast.
But other than that.
So if someone came along and truly did, if the money was there, it wouldn't take that much more to get past us.
I think there's a couple of ways
and I'd be good with that.
Yeah. One.
Then I'd go to the Duck Goose or the Duck Golf AM show is what I'd go for.
If let's just say in a year we're on, but disc golf is on NBC for whatever reason.
Okay.
And we're not involved in part of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's one for me.
Is Jason Bateman involved?
No.
Okay.
This isn't like the 80s. Jason Bateman's not involved in anything other than raunchy comedies these days.
Okay.
I can look at it like this. I never still don't expect SmashBoxx to be my main line of income. Mm-hmm. That's why I keep my job.
Yeah.
If disc golf somehow makes it into a major network, I can look at it like, hey, I was a catalyst for that. Mm-hmm. So I've got a little notch in my belt for that and a pat on the back. Whether it does anything for me in the future, maybe, maybe not. I would like to think that if they are doing that, they would hopefully come to someone like Terry and I who have experience, and we would work with them. But even if we weren't, I think that for me, it's good enough to know that we would probably be a large portion or a large influence as to why that probably happened and how it happened. So, but yeah, I would love to see it on some sort of major United States channel with someone who can really put together a phenomenal production piece, like they do with golf. Have like 50 editors doing all these cool bios on all of our players and digging into the backstory, where we have Germ sitting in a room with just a light and he's crying because he never had friends to ride bikes with. Mm-hmm. Those pieces that that tug on the heartstrings. So,
man, that means Germ. That there's so many more implications, and for those of you that aren't familiar, we've referenced Germ and riding a bike. Big Germ and Paul Ulibarri have found their way on Nantucket Island for the tournament taking place this weekend, and the real story was that Big Germ isn't proficient at all in riding a bicycle. And then he told us the story about how just as a kid he didn't really have those kinds of friends, and you must not have any friends, but he said all his friends lived nearby, so they didn't have a lot of bikes and there wasn't a lot of bike riding.
Like in the same house? Because my friends were all within 2 blocks, but guess what? I got on my bike and rode to their house.
Yeah,
2 blocks away.
I know.
Jamie Williams, Josh Henderson? Josh Henderson?
Jason Henderson?
No, Josh Henderson.
Okay, anyway.
Jason and Jeremy Thiel or whatever next door. I still rode to their house.
Well, so that's why we're referencing bikes and bike riding and whatnot during this show. But I forgot where I was going now with that. But anyway, yeah, if a major network were to come along, I'd be totally fine with it. Someone even said, well, what if it meant you couldn't go out and cover any more disc golf ever again? I'd still be okay with it. It would be it would mean that disc golf has taken a large step in the right direction.
Then we get back into playing and become stars that way.
There you go, because that's clearly where we're. If you guys were offered jobs at ESPN covering disc golf, but would have to end SmashBoxx, would you? Well, more than likely we would have to, and it would all come down to what that exactly meant. But more than likely,
probably.
Clash Royale with Big or B Max says, I think 100% you are all 100% you are all doing right. I really hope you can someday get at the funding to take coverage to the next level. Obviously, I enjoy your all's coverage. Thank you, Clash. We appreciate that.
I'm going to say this. I don't necessarily think it's a funding thing. Having
funding could make us look better and more polished.
I don't know. Like, having more funding, I think the way we look more polished is
you doing a better job.
Me and you doing a better job. I would need an additional person to run graphics.
Certain things, yep.
Basically. And those graphics would have to look nice.
Mm-hmm.
Because that I think is like the next step is to like, and it would, and I'm talking like those really cool motion graphics, because UDisc does really nice static graphics and stats and stuff for us. But I'm talking that fancy shine that they put on the scoreboard and things like that we can't do on the fly right now because I don't have the capabilities. Having somebody next to me can do that. But here's what I'm going to say. Technology is going to help take care of that. 10 years ago, you couldn't do what we're doing.
Correct.
There was no way. Disc Golf Planet, their first event, they covered like half of a course, maybe. Yeah.
I don't recall. I thought it was everything.
At the Memorial, I don't think they were able to get back.
Oh no, there might have been a few.
I don't think they were able to get back through holes 7, 8, 9, 10 because everything was line of sight, and there was a limit to that. Well, now we have 4G cameras that can do that. Soon we'll have 5G, and the quality will look better, the video quality. So short of, like I said, running fiber to all these places so that to really improve the quality of the video, the next step is cool-looking graphics, and that's really another person sitting next to me constantly updating scores and graphics, pulling in from somewhere and pushing them out. That's another person. So, and granted, you have to pay that person, so that's really where the funds are, but there's a level at which having a crap ton more money isn't going to produce a crap ton better quality. It's going to produce better quality, but there's a graph somewhere in there where it plateaus, where at that point then the money just goes into Johnny's pocket.
Well,
not Terry's.
I think about things in terms of we'd love to expand our crew. We'd love to have some slightly better equipment. I mean, those are all, little minor things that certainly, but even expanding our crew to having more option. I mean, inevitably, when we have 2 cameras out there, everybody wants 3. And when we have 3, they want 10. And when we have 10, they're going to say, why aren't there 20?
Mm-hmm.
We could never have enough cameras out there covering enough, random things either. So, with money comes, could come with some of those things. But then at a certain point, it's going to be the money is going to need to just pay more personnel, which is also just a whole nother, component of it. So there's a lot of different things that have to be taken into consideration there.
Yeah, and I think someone mentioned it, the next level is probably no downtime, no walking, another camera or 2 commentating, cutting the cards. Agreed. And then... so that'd probably be level 2, because level 1 is really nice looking graphics to help make the event. I'd say that's level 3, because level 2 then is better and additional assets. Having those heart tugging, those pieces about Germ and his childhood, growing up with 50 people in his house that were all his friends, that none of them rode bikes.
Mm-hmm.
And then next is having somebody sit next to the graphics guy who's sitting next to me, who can get all those feeds in, cut them together, and push them out to me so that we do eliminate a lot of that downtime. But those, honestly, I've looked, those machines that take that in and able to do that on the fly, you're talking like $50,000, $100,000, $200,000 for those particular machines. We can rig stuff up, but it's not nearly the speed of what you have with those. So, that's a whole nother step. But I mean, trust me, I've looked at ways to improve, and someone had said, rolling fiber out to get that gig signal. Yeah, that would be great. But 5G might do that for us. That if the quality, if the signal for 5G cards or whatever we get is that much better, pushing out 1080p is not going to be a problem. Right now we're pushing 720. We could, in theory, push out 1080i or P, but it would cost us a fortune. Like, you think our data bills are big now.
Yeah, and for the minimal amount of difference that will truly be distinguishable between the 720 and the 1080. I mean, we can go back to 2014, and we were able to push some stuff out in 1080, and really, they're just the slight difference that you're seeing on streaming online it's not worth literally double the data cost right now. And data's only going to get cheaper, technology's only going to get better, so we'll see as things move forward. But those are all things we take into consideration. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like Robert said, creating those more human interest pieces, but those human interest pieces, again, that's a couple people going to these places, interviewing in the off time in the season, the week of and the week before and 2 weeks before these big events, and doing all this. And we can't afford to pay those people. Like those are people that aren't directly involved in our broadcast.
Correct. So,
you tell someone, hey, here's an extra $5,000, go make a bunch of stuff. It's just not realistic.
Nick Anderson says it's more about the battles than the graphics. And that's a good point. That's a good opinion, meaning there's some people that are like, oh, this looks like crap, blah, blah, blah. It's like, do you care about the spit or the shine? Like, there's so many different ways that I think you can look at that. And, we know how annoying, some poor audio, like what poor audio does to an entire broadcast, or what it does for a few minutes to someone, and how off-putting that can be. So audio is always a concern. I mean, all these different individual pieces, the way that they come together, there's no one thing that you can say, yep, this is for sure it. Once we fix that, then we're golden on the rest. All of them need to just slowly be elevated. If we're looking at you're looking at an IQ or a EQ. It's like you need to push every dial up just a little bit, a little bit at a time.
And that's what we do. And there are people, and I'll say this, 720 versus 1080, not that big of a difference. What we need to work on, or not work on, what would be nice is if we could push out a higher bit rate, a better 720 quality. Because if I just went to 1080p with the quality we're getting, it probably would look worse. Because it's more pixels at the same amount of bandwidth, so you're actually divvying it up more. If I can give you more bandwidth rather than the 5 meg we're at, if I could give us 10 meg and double that 720p is going to look that much better. And again, there's problem because there's bottlenecks other places, not just that bandwidth particularly. So,
well, and we can start wrapping this up because
yeah.
But I will answer a few things here. Remo just said the Jomez coverage quality Jomez World's coverage quality live would be amazing.
Yeah.
There's a reason we're not doing it because their quality in post-production is, first of all, it's amazing, but to bring that to live, you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars. When it's all said and done, like if you want to do some of the stuff that they're doing, and that's the reason they're not doing it live, is because it would cost them this absurd amount of money.
They're like, I think people really loved that shot tracker that they did, which was cool. I mean, basically it's an After Effects program where you take the video and you put a little box around the disc, and you take a point, and it will kind of automatically follow that disc, and it creates a line. I'm assuming that's how they do it. And maybe they're tracing it by hand, but it doesn't seem logical. And it's nice because you have time to set that up, set up your masks, put all that stuff out, and then render it. To do that all as quick as they do it in ball golf, that's, like we said, that's like $1 million machinery. That is huge, high-tech video stuff. I think that's a technical term.
Yes.
The video stuff.
Yeah,
So,
you're talking about, and there's, I was trying to Google it, but it gets me too sidetracked to just type in shot tracker. Go out and do just a few minutes of YouTube and Googling about, I watched this amazing video. Your minds would be blown if you go out and watch the video about what it takes to put the 10-yard line on an NFL field for a live NFL broadcast. It will blow your mind. Not only the cost, but the technology of what it takes to put the relatively recent, those are what, in the last 10 to 15 years?
15 years, yeah, 10 to 15 years.
Whatever it's been, to put that on there. Or the puck, to follow the puck in NHL. I think I've seen a YouTube video on that. I think they did too. But the millions of dollars or the hundreds of thousands of dollars per night to have the puck tracker and to follow a puck live on TV, I think was hundreds of thousands of dollars per broadcast.
Sure.
So just to put this in perspective, we all can have wish lists. We can all talk about, the creme de la creme and the most amazing, ideal, perfect world scenario. But a couple things to research, just because I found it interesting. This was before I was even at all in SmashBoxx. I've come across those videos. Actually, I'm sorry, the 10-yard line was more recent. But see what it takes to put up that 10-yard line marker on the NFL, and it will blow your mind. Even with technology today, what it took for them to initiate it and to get it to where it is. And sure, maybe it's gotten a little cheaper and a little easier, but I bet you it still costs triple digits to put it up every single broadcast. And that's the NFL. I don't know if people have remembered, but we're not quite there yet. So it's pretty amazing. And frames per second, all those things. There's money, there's technology, there's all those things.
I just, and this is just my nature, I always just fall back and say, guess what? Technology is going to get cheaper. It's going to get better. It's going to get faster. We're going to hopefully ride that wave. We're at a really good, what I think right now, maybe in 10 years I'll look back and go, I was an idiot. We're at a really good point where we can kind of roll with the technology because it's moving so fast.
Yes, and in my worked up rambling, first down marker is a better way to refer to it than the 10-yard marker. Good point is you got my point. And believe it or not, I'm not completely NFL or football inept.
No, you're fine.
But I was thinking of the markers on the field. But yes, the first down marker. Sounds silly just now repeating. I felt so weird when I was saying it, but I couldn't think of another word I was looking for.
All right, enough tech talk.
Yeah, that's enough. A random, but go Google those things because they're interesting. But then the reality of them is what I think is just so crazy.
Yeah, doing stuff in After is so much easier,
especially when you're as talented. And the guys over at Jomez they're insanely talented right off the bat, so they have a leg up on us. But then in the fact that they're doing it in post, and they've honed their craft so that they're doing it in post and they're doing it in a timely fashion.
They don't need to sleep. I think they're robots.
Yeah, and maybe that's part of it too. They're sacrificing, and that's the other, kind of sad part is we've set ourselves up to that. Them or me or whomever is that expectation is, well, we need it 12 hours later. And unfortunately, they sacrifice truly their health to sometimes make that happen. I know I have, and I know they have. And it's kind of the what we've, I don't know, the can of worms we've opened, the Pandora's box, whatever. The 10-yard marker that we've tried to cross is what we've done.
Exactly.
All right, we're gonna call it. It's 12:30. We likely won't be on next week, but if there is, it may be a modified show.
We'll figure something out.
If we can, please join us for the live regular action. It would be Podcast 110. So for Johnny V and myself, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, this has been the Podcast 109 After Show. Thank you for tuning in and listening to our just complete ramblings and blathering on. We'll see you guys next time when you step inside the SmashBoxx.